Well, what's going on, peeps?
How's it going?
Hey, open the doors, get the hell out of my way. I got to get to the coin machine and put my money in.
That's it. That's
I need my
it.
quarters.
I had to crank start the stream today. It wasn't working.
Get out the way. I'm going to Gauntlet.
Right? As everyone do it. Welcome back. Our weekend discussion here. This week we're doing video games. Here, then, now, before, next year, whenever. It's all about video games today. Welcome back, Scott, on this side of me here. Buddy Scott, building with the boys, and Triple M, Mr. Jason, down below there.
I am your electric camel.
Yeah, the electric camel. Let's go there again. I wonder if that could be considered I guess it could be considered a
very old school video game. Yeah.
Very old school, some kind of electronic. I don't know.
I'm ready for the next level. Turn it up.
Let's go. Hi, everybody down there. Doris. Oh, my goodness. Sorry I'm late, guys. It was, it went blank.
Mr. Chris had technical difficulty.
Oh man, I couldn't get it up, as the gentleman like to point out. It wasn't working. The stream wouldn't go up. You know. Call it what it may.
I don't think you're helping yourself there, dude.
Nah, I'm just let's go. How about Mario? Where's he coming?
You threw your shoulder out doing it too. Okay.
Like I don't know. Shit. So, where do we start?
Well, at first there was Pong. No, actually.
No.
Yeah.
Pong wasn't the first one, was it?
Actually, I think the first one that I've been able to find record of is a thing called the Oregon Trail, which was in 1971, a year before Atari put out Pong, and it was put out by a company, MECC, which is the Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium, which absolutely nobody in their mother's heard of. So they got less time. They got less time than Sega did.
So that was the Oregon Trail was something that started appearing in memes, and as someone from the UK, we were like, "What is this?" And there was like a whole generation that had grown up playing it, and I'm like, I have no idea what this is. It was a cultural reference that was lost on me. But since then, I've looked into it. The Oregon Trail just looked like the world's hardest game. I think no matter what you did, you ended up dead.
Actually, well, I don't know if it ever got listed that way. The one actually that they've touted as being the hardest, most brutal game that required the highest level of eye-hand coordination and also of reaction time is Donkey Kong.
Really?
The average Donkey Kong game lasted less than a minute. So think about that. You're going to the arcade with $5, okay? And back in that day, that was supposed to entertain you for an afternoon. All right, so 5 times 4 is 20. Average game lasts less than a minute. Damn, you just blew it all in less than 20 minutes. I haven't seen that happen since pornos came out.
Doris, that would be Dixie Kong, I believe was the girlfriend's name, and then Diddy was the little boy.
I don't know.
She was asking what the girlfriend's name was.
I don't know how true this is, but the one thing I've heard about Donkey Kong was the original was supposed to be called Monkey Kong, and there was something in the translation. Yeah, and there was something in the translation that
it could have been. I've actually never heard that, but I'd believe it.
It's I don't know if it's ever mythical, but yeah, apparently
bloody evil little bastard.
I think Monkey Kong was supposed to, the donkey never really made sense to me. So once I heard that, it's supposed to be Monkey Kong, but the translation was ballsed up, I'm like, that kind of makes sense.
That makes more sense than Donkey Kong, actually. Yeah,
I don't know where the donkey comes into it.
Yep, I'd believe it. I don't know, being a factor of the '80s, or a child of the '80s, if you want. I did a lot of my time in video arcades. Funny thing is about the same time, I also got introduced to computer games. And
Okay.
for those of you, we'll take a trip back slightly past punch cards to the first portable computer, which was called the HP Compaq. Now, for those of you that have never seen one of these, imagine something roughly the size of a carry-on that in order to set up, you did three things. You had to screw out the legs, which actually tilted the screen up to you, which was a screen that was really no bigger than what you have in your car nowadays, as your screen for navigation, and and then you
Okay, I got
flipped
you, Jed.
two little flips and pulled the keyboard out that had a one of those scrunchy, what do you call those, like what the old phones had, the spiraled
Flex.
extending, flex cable that flexed for all of maybe 8 inches. And the screen was either, depending on which version you bought, an amber or a green screen, and that's
I
what you
remember
had.
green
And
screen.
it ran off of two full height 4.5-inch floppies. No, 5.5-inch floppies. Getting them confused. Um, and the game that you played was called Below the Root, and it came
Oh,
with
nice.
I believe it was 8 discs that you constantly had to switch in and out, and it would pause while it gave you time to go in and put the next disc in, then spin up and read it so that you could go into the next screen. But it was addictive as hell, and it was for its time a lot of fun. Now, that being said, I've taken a look at the top 100 video game list that they have now, from like IGN and fans ratings and what have you, and I'm sad to say that there's maybe a handful of games from that era that are still on the list. One of which is Ms. Pac-Man. So, apparently, guys prefer the ladies to the guy.
This Pac-Man's way better than Pac-Man.
Why is that though? I mean, the only thing, see, I had an Atari 2600 when I was a kid, and I had Miss Pac-Man, but I never had Pac-Man for it. So I never really played Pac-Man. I just always assumed they were the same game. It's just one had a bow in her head.
They were
the major difference between Miss Pac-Man and
roughly
Pac-Man?
the same. They were roughly the same game. The difference was when Miss Pac-Man came along, the AI was supposed to be harder.
Yeah.
So Pac-Man, you could kind of figure it out. As a matter of fact, funny you mentioned Pac-Man. There's a guy by the name of Billy Mitchell, who actually is one of a couple people recorded in competitive gaming, and yes, there is such thing. Who ever had a perfect Pac-Man score. He was also coincidentally the guy until 2010 who had the highest, or was it 2017? It's one or the other. Who had the highest Donkey Kong, had the world record for Donkey Kong.
World record Donkey Kong score?
Yeah. At
shit.
What did you do? Oh, okay. At 874,000 something. And then he got beat. It was 2010, August of 2010. He got beat by Steve Wybe, who was at the time laid off, and he had a top score, beat the top score with 1,600,000 or 6,600. So yeah, and that's been recorded, and they actually even showed up at his house and took his Donkey Kong game apart to try and disprove that he'd gotten that he had some kind of something he was cheating. Yeah, so it's funny.
I love that
Oh,
there's this
wow.
whole subculture of people that are still that into these games that are like 40
Oh,
years
yeah.
old now.
Oh, dude,
That it's still
Right.
being played competitively, and it's it's like sport to these people. It's a big deal, and I
there's
know that the accusations of cheating are rife in that community as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
it's insane.
there's a guy, if you never have a chance, there's a guy by the name of Walter Day, um, who actually is the guy who started a
What's
uh,
that called?
it's a website, but it's also kind of like a business, if you want to call it that way, called Twin Galaxies, which is the guy, and they're not getting paid for this, so that's why I said you can kind of call it a business. But he's the one who's kept competitive gaming going
Oh, wow.
for all these decades. And he's just fanatical about it. As a matter of fact, he's also a very big Billy Mitchell fan.
Oh,
Because
wow.
Billy Mitchell is kind of like his poster boy for for video gaming. But yeah, they have anytime somebody sets a world record, you're supposed to record it and then send in a copy of your record to this Twin Galaxies location, and they have another guy. I think they need some help at this point, but they have another guy who sits and watches the
It's
footage
cool, Sleepy.
to verify. Yeah, now
Wow.
imagine, if you will, from all over the world, all this stuff coming in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this dude is sitting there, having to watch this all day long.
I'm guessing we're talking hours as well for these Donkey Kong scores. We got to be looking at
Well, it's not
hours.
just Donkey. It's not just Donkey. It's any game.
Yeah.
They've done it for Defender. They've done it for Centipede. They've done it from Missile Command. Now, I'm sorry. I like a lot of the old video games, but Missile Command is one that you might as well just shoot me for. It was it was almost as boring to me as
I
Asteroid.
hated Missile Command. No, I agree. I could never.
Yeah.
Didn't you still play with the ball as well? Was
Yeah.
it Missile Command didn't have the
Yeah.
joystick, had the ball?
Yeah.
Had the little
Yeah.
ball.
Oh, no,
yeah.
no.
And you had the 3 buttons depending on
Yeah.
which silo you were.
Yeah,
you know,
no.
and
Never liked it.
That's the one that I never got past a minute on putting a quarter in, because sorry, I don't do that. Joystick I can work. That I can handle that. This bad little boy I can handle. Okay.
That's it.
Something like that. And dude, there are a number of gamers out there.
Mine's always close.
They have those gamer mice that you can sit there and scroll with a thumb. I can't do that. It's just,
I've never got on with the mouse, man. I mean,
No.
I know people that swear by
Can't
it.
do it.
They're like, oh no, once, and I'm sure, I've no doubt that once you're kind of there and you're using it, and you're used to it, it probably is awesome for first person shooters. But I can't do it, man. I've never been able to play with keys and mouse. Just can't do it.
Well, I hate to tell you, one of my go-tos when I've had stressful day, or I just need to be creative.
Yeah.
And I blame my son for this. Is Minecraft, and I know a lot of people are like, Minecraft. You know what? The cool thing about Minecraft is you can go in and you can do whatever. There's not a whole lot of negativity to it. You get really pissed off by a creeper blowing your shit up that you've just tried to, spend an hour doing and putting into detail, and then you got to go back and do it all over again. But other than that, it's not like the Grand Theft Auto, where you've got some questionable stuff.
Can you break it
going on.
down for me with Minecraft? Because like my kids play it, and I've asked them to try and explain it, and they can't.
Okay.
What's the? I mean, in the kind of the meat and potatoes of it, this is what it is.
I have been, I was one of those folks growing up. I not only played D&D, but I also liked, I would get graph paper, and I enjoyed being a dungeon master, and I would design dungeons all the time. So to me, and building games have always appealed to me. As a matter of fact, that's how I met Susan, my wife. Is we met in a online, real-time, real-world mass player building game
Cool.
that you then had to join an alliance, or you get your little squashed, when you came into beginner protection. And you then either survived against people attacking you, or you went out and attacked other people. But I've always liked those. And one of the neat things about Minecraft is you've got a number of different types of materials that you can build with. So I get a kick out of building these huge facades, and looking at, okay, a trapdoor is a trapdoor is a trapdoor until you set them up on top of each other and
Right.
open them all of a sudden you don't have trapdoors, you have nice wood paneling for the inside of you walk up to these great huge mountains that they've thrown into whatever form that they have. And one of the things that I really get a kick out of is finding a place at the base of it, digging into it, and then digging out layers of levels going all the way up to the top. They're not rooms I'll ever use worth a damn, but you know what? Each and every one is different. Each and every one has to be handled differently because of how it was built by the game, how it was set up by the game. So you may go into a place and build something where you're tearing back. You may build something where you're going straight up, and you do that little winding staircase to get up. But for me, it's looking at something and going, okay, this is what I can do with it. Making farms is a hell of a lot of fun too. You make those set up, and you can. It's just there's a lot of things you can do. That are just, it's not negative. It's relatively safe for kids because they have got some really good filters against cursing. You're not going to have somebody come dashing along and destroy what you've done. So you get that frustration.
I find that because my kids play two games. My kids are the 9 and 11, and they play Minecraft is the bulk of their time, but they also play Roblox. And you can see the difference in the two communities. In Minecraft, it is very positive, and it's very nice, for lack of a better word. Whereas Roblox is a lot sketchier. There's a lot of dodgy shit on Roblox that. And it's that point where I'm like, I got to monitor what they're doing, because when I see things come up and they'll ask me a question about something, I'm like, why are you asking about that? And a lot of people that make levels on Roblox and it's got horror film stuff in it and things like that, and they're asking me questions about it. I'm like, nah.
Keep them away from Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Another one was actually it was kind of funny. It wasn't, but it was. My son moved out over the winter, this past winter, but before that, he would have his set up in his room, and he had this great big,
much love, Gypsy.
3.5, 4-foot TV that he had turned into his monitor, and was had it linked into his laptop and had it linked into his Xbox, and used to play Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you that play Call of Duty, there's a number of different groups that are on there. There's one guy that I can't remember his name now because it's been too long, and he's got a really good video out where they're out there playing, and this guy comes in, and he comes in with Arnold Schwarzenegger's accent. And he's just I see.
I think I've seen it. I think I've seen a video. Yeah.
I've seen that.
Ow!
That's
Get to
funny.
the chopper! Oh, they kidding me! And it's just freaking. It's hysterical. I can play it over and over. But one of the things we used to laugh at until it really got to be the thing was, God love him, poor Nicholas would sit there, and it's really a fairly toxic environment in some of these places, and Call of Duty's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, the string of profanity that would come out of his mouth, and you could hear him actually slam his fist down, and I'm like, dude, go play something else. Go play Minecraft. Go play
Minecraft.
He and I got into Fortnite for a little while with the two of us.
Nice.
I think one of my favorite gaming things times that I've had was he and I were in doing a team, duo pairs. And we started out in the same place. And this was in the first map where you had this really high place that you could start in, and you could run shopping carts down it and other things down it, and you'd get down to the bottom and you could jump, make a jump. And we used to do this thing where he was obviously better than I was, so I would push the shopping cart around, and he would be the one to do the shooting. So we went up this one time to the base of this big hill, and we both went up to get the chest that was down there, and we had a shopping cart. Well, I forget who it was, but one of us forgot to put the shopping cart on level ground. So Nicholas is dressed completely in black and has a black cape on, and I'm getting out of the chest just as I hear him go, "Wait, shopping cart, come back!" And here's his character hauling ass down the hill after the shopping cart, cape streaming in the air, and I don't know why, but it was so funny at the time the way it happened. I just lost it. I about wet myself sitting there laughing.
That's hilarious.
We got killed because he was chasing after the damn shopping cart, and we're laughing so hard we couldn't see. We had tears coming out of our eyes. It was stupid, but it was hilarious. We had a lot of good times playing on that first map together. Fighting each other, and then we bring you could do the creative thing where you brought people in. Got dust on my eyes. You can bring other people in, friends in. You can sit with a group of friends and play. And it was just it was a lot of fun. That's gotten to be a little bit of a toxic environment too, unfortunately. Sad. So, but it's another one that's it's not bad for kids, and there's a lot of kids, as a matter of fact, that have videos on YouTube dancing to the various emojis. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, God love them, because I can't do any of that. If I tried doing that, I'd break a hip.
Well, my kids play rugby, and they do it to each other. One school scores a try, the other kids will start Fortnite dancing at the other kids. And when they first started doing it, I'm like, what are they doing? And then it's kind of like, okay.
Oh yeah, and I always like some of the
Paperboy was awesome
ones.
But this,
Paperboy was a good one. Is that Derek? Is that Derek? Was that Derek talking about Paperboy? No, it's Big Chuck. That's funny.
Big Chuck.
When we were setting up to do this last week, Derek started talking about Paperboy.
Oh shit!
So, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a version of that on the arcade that had handlebars?
Oh yeah,
on the machine.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Yep.
I
always found that a trip as well, that game, because the amount of kids that probably spent the money they earned being a Paperboy,
the arcade,
playing Paperboy.
They could have just went and been a Paperboy. Yeah, true. I didn't think of that.
We get it here. I'm assuming you've got something similar over there, but we have what are called service stations along the highways and the freeways here. Where you can pull over and you can you can get something to eat, get a coffee, but they also typically have arcade machines in them, and they always have Daytona Rally or something like that. And I'm thinking, why the fuck, if you've just been driving for like 100 miles, 200 miles, would you want to pull over and put money into a machine to simulate driving?
That's awesome.
It's a weird thing.
To that end, my friend, I will tell you, Spy Hunter.
Spy Hunter
was a kick-ass game in its time.
Yeah.
We have a lady gamer joining us on panel here, guys.
Oh,
Jennifer there.
Cool.
This is Jen. How are you, Jen? She's got a collection of retro games. She wanted to show off.
Why?
That's pretty cool. I don't know. You're all dark.
She's being mysterious. She's keeping us in the dark.
I don't know. The kids will never know like nostalgia from like the 80s and 90s. That's when I grew up.
This is the thing. We're kind of the first generation of gamers. If you're Generation X, we were kind of the first ones, and this isn't kind of we were there first. I'm just saying we were. So it's unusual for the generations before us to hear the way we talk about games with affection that we do, because they're part of our culture. To them, when it was music and movies, to us this was added to that. So we do have this kind of affection for these games.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hear a tune from a game, and it just sparks something in you. You're like, oh man, and that's enough to get you right there.
Well,
Zelda, Mario.
It's funny. Talking about different generations. The generations before us, the big addictions were alcohol primarily. And not so much, but drugs to a little bit.
To a little bit.
we introduced the video game addiction, and the thing is a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people do not understand.
And of course, our generation never did drugs because George Bush insisted on that winners don't do drugs on the start.
That's it.
It was George and his predecessor, dear old Ronnie, who said, Nancy says, just say no.
Just say no.
And that was really kind of the start of that was, Ronnie's just say no to drugs. But yeah, we didn't care at the time, screw it. Put another quarter in. The last one I remember having a lot of playtime with was actually a combo game. And it's one we haven't talked about. It's a whole group of them we haven't really talked about much, but was Baby Pac-Man. down at the college that I went to, there was a little
Welcome
thing
back.
Hello.
Thank you.
There's a little thing like a 7-Eleven, but it was like a mom and pop 7-Eleven. And inside the front door, they had a Baby Pac-Man game. And having that right off campus, and I mean right off campus where it was like a 2-second walk, was not a great thing. But man, oh man, I tell you what, they made a killing on that thing. And the neat thing with Baby Pac-Man is hello. Hi. It's part pinball, part video game.
Baby Pac-Man.
Yeah. If you get the chance, check it out.
I've not seen one either.
You had to get the ball into a specific trap on the pinball side in order to activate the video screen.
Oh, sweet.
So you actually had 2 games in one.
Oh, nice.
So
I've never seen one. I'm going to have to look that out. I've never seen one of those.
Yep.
Golden Axe used to eat by quarters.
Baby Pac-Man. Yeah.
Baby Pac-Man. I'm going to have to take a look at that.
Yep.
What was that beat 'em up they had a Pac-Man for Super Nintendo or something?
Look at that.
Pac-Mania or something? Oh, shit.
No, there's something I haven't seen in a while.
That is old school. Look at that.
Yep.
I got one of those, but it's got like Game Boy Color. Oh yeah. There's so much how far along does that come? Oh yeah. That changed the whole
spark nostalgia. That thing turning on, that little ding when that comes on.
Battery only lasted like 20 minutes, but no.
That's okay.
Battery sucked.
You walked around with your arcade in your pocket.
Tetris.
Tetris.
Oh shit! I got some miles in Tetris.
I got Cubert.
Oh wow!
Cubert! Holy shit!
That's an awesome one.
Cubert.
Of course, now this one you can tell it's been used a lot, but the Mario
Land.
Yep. Or Mario Land.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mario. Oh shit!
Pong.
That's the original. Yep.
And this is the Centipede Millipede.
Okay.
Nice. That one drove me to
tears.
I love Centipede.
Centipede was awesome.
Excuse the dust, but this is my N64.
Wow. Let's go.
It was a long time.
Wow.
Yep.
That's old school.
And I have, of course, Tetris.
There you
go. They made Tetris for N64?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It must be like 3D.
Tetris. It was the best Tetris. I love this. Tetris.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And then I have the Mario Kart 64.
Oh, yeah. Mario Kart's classic.
Yep.
I love it.
And then I have the Namco that has the Pac-Man and like.
Okay. The arcade one.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah, you can actually download apps now that have up to 100 of the old original old games.
Wow, look at those old controllers.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh, Rumble Pack. Yeah, look at that. Get it. That's how you made your controller shake, kids, back in the day.
And this is what one looks like without it.
Oh shit. Okay.
Actually, wait, Chris. The true way to make your controller shake was when you get pissed off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's when your controller really shook. Generally followed by a thud as it hit the wall and going, oh shit, we got to go buy a new one.
Wow,
that's
Atari, look at that.
Yeah, that's old school.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Wood
Look at the
finish.
knobs.
Nice.
That wood finish.
Yep.
Everything got
Now,
wood finish back then. The
that's the
station
one-
wagons.
That's the one. Yep, the old joystick. That Atari is the one where you used to either have to put a folded piece of paper down between the cartridge or the outside edge to hold it in place, or wrap rubber bands around it to hold the cartridge in to keep it.
Yeah, because it would bounce out.
Yep.
I remember that shit. There was like 4 or 5 different versions of Atari. I think, if I recall correctly. But like
And then
that.
This is the PS2 Slim.
Oh, okay.
I got a PS3 in the other room. Still
Yeah.
hooked up. Still
Nice.
Still playing Magic the Gathering with it.
Oh, nice. I used to play that Hot Shots Golf on
then
PlayStation 3.
The Wii.
That
You
was
would use the pole position.
the Wii was an evil little bastard. Let me tell you something.
The Wii?
Oh yeah, God, Wii Sports. Oh my God.
Well, I played some Wii bowling. We played the
Wii-
shit out of Wii bowling.
No. Wii Boxing.
Oh, that was
Tell you
fun
what,
too.
Wii Boxing
Cube?
was brutal.
The GameCube.
Yep.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that
She's
is.
got her own little gamer's den going on there. Eh?
Nintendo
Now-
GameCube, son of a gun.
Now, do y'all know what this is?
GameCube.
No,
What
that's
is
right here.
that?
This
No.
is the attachment where you could put your DS games in and play them on the TV.
Oh,
Oh,
shit! I
nice.
didn't know about
Kidding.
that.
Huh, okay.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Is that a Wavebird thing?
Huh?
Is that a Wavebird controller thing? For the
What?
wireless one? Oh yeah, it's a Wavebird. It's wireless Nintendo GameCube controller.
Yeah.
That's how you went wireless. You had the piece that went in the.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a Wavebird. That's cool. Those are
Hard to come by.
those are
nowadays.
rare. Those are hard to come by here.
But yeah, that's why I like this.
The whole like experience for kids back when I was a kid, kids won't know now. Like, for example, you can't get a cheat code just by hitting Google and getting a how do I kill this boss, or how do I get, you can just hit Google. Like, it was a whole weekend.
That was
Right?
also cheat codes, man. Were like schoolyard commodity. You know, you know
Oh,
that
for
guy
sure.
who was good for a cheat code. There was no Google for that shit.
If-
It was
No.
like, you knew a guy who was like, yeah, no, I can hook you with a level select.
Yeah, there was
If-
Geigle.
if-
Yeah, it
you
wasn't
were-
Google,
you were
it was-
cool
it
if you
was
had
Geigle.
that. If you had that Nintendo Power subscription, you were top notch, man. You were the guy.
You were the guy.
You were the guy on the schoolyard. Oh.
And then they had what was it? Gamer Mag. That came out and they started putting it out there. I remember one of the first cheats that and you can call it a cheat if you want. It's pattern memorization that I learned was for Galaga, which was you stay alive on the first screen of Galaga with
Game Genie.
one of the first 2 rows. You know, one guy.
I still have a
of
Game
the
Genie
first
somewhere.
2 rows. And if you stayed alive for 15 minutes, it shut down. None of them would fire at you after that.
That's nuts.
Oh,
See,
wow.
This
Yeah.
is the thing, right? There are certain things that I should remember and I don't. Anniversary dates, for example, telephone numbers, passwords, but I'll still
Well,
remember the
remember
level
gaming
select
shit.
from. Yeah, I remember the level select from Sonic the Hedgehog from 40 years ago. No problem.
No
You
problem.
probably
We
you
got
need to remember that shit, like death moves from like the original Mortal Kombat. Yeah, I got you.
Oh shit! I got you. You know, left, down.
It has begun.
I'm going to step down. I just wanted to show
was
off
great
to
my
see.
collection.
No, that was cool,
Thank
Ginger.
you for showing us that, Ginger.
No
We
problem.
appreciate you.
No problem at all. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
You too.
Thanks, Ginger.
Bye.
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 There we go. Damn it. What's going on with my
I'm
camera?
going in.
Camera ain't cooperating.
Yes, it would be. You would drum that into your head like almost like muscle memory. But I mean, it's like I mean, I don't know why this is in my head. I know that run, block, run is Sub-Zero's finisher on Mortal Kombat 3.
Right?
Right?
I
I
can't
couldn't
remember
tell you
what
what
I
my
did last
password to get into
Tuesday,
my work
but
account is, but I can tell you that
Get
one of
over here.
fatalities, and I know exactly where you need to be standing as well.
oh shit.
You know, it's funny. We'll take it. We'll take it into the next genre. I think the first role playing one that I got into computer wise was Evercrack. So also known as EverQuest.
Never played it.
Oh wow.
I've heard of it. I've never. Yeah, never played it.
You know World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
You know apples and oranges. Same, two different sides of the same coin.
Okay.
But EverQuest,
Room
yeah.
Steve?
Oh my God, you
What's that?
you would sit there and get in with a group, and
Oh, you play that?
one of the coolest things we ever did was when EverQuest was a big thing back in the late '90s, early 2000s. We had a group with one guy who was an IT wizard who networked his house and got 26 of us into his house.
Oh wow.
On different, he set up a server, you know, basically for doing this.
Yeah.
And different routers that he daisy chained together, and got all 26 of us in the house with either laptop or desktop. Now, the laptop had to be pretty hopped up back then. But you know, most of us carting our desktops and you know monitors and shit in, and we spent the weekend playing EverQuest. And you basically you brought a sleeping bag, and when you got done playing, you just kind of laid out where your station was. You know, we barbecued and had a good old time. But yeah, that was a thing, and that's another thing. I don't think you'll find that a whole lot nowadays.
No, and I mean
you know,
this goes back to what I was saying about culturally it's different for us. And I mean it's as we're doing now, you reminisce about games and you remember good times you had with friends playing these games.
Yeah, that was our social network. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
Even just renting them at the Blockbuster was like a whole week. That was your weekend. You went on the Friday after school, got your games from Blockbuster.
You're getting your money's worth. You're renting it from Blockbuster. You're getting your money's worth. It's like I'm playing the shit out of this.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
You remember Doom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doom was a game that you could actually hardwire 4 computers together.
It was the first one I ever did that on. That's the first I ever played multiplayers on separate screens was Doom, and we did it at school, and we got in so much shit for it when we got caught doing it. We were doing it in the library.
We had a guy, coincidentally, not the same guy who wired everything. He did help, but from the same group from EverQuest, who hardwired 4 computers in his basement. And we used to go. We had guys' night out, you know, once a week, and you know we'd play whatever. Anything from Magic the Gathering to a wild board game called Robo Rally. If you've never played it, it will drive you absolutely insane. You basically had to put together a string of moves based on cards that you were dealt. And figure out how to get your way from one end around all the obstacles and everything from one end of the board to the other. And the way these boards were set, you could put them together in any kind of different way because they just came out as squares. So but he would network these together, and Doom was the first game I'd ever seen that had a 3D playing environment that you didn't have to be a programmer for. It had a hex editor.
Oh, nice.
You could download the hex editor. This is about the time when the internet was just starting up. So you could grab stuff. So I grabbed the hex editor and I used to design Doom game, Doom realms, 3D environments that we'd play around in, and that was kind of the thing. Is I'd bring it on disc, and you know we'd plug the 4 1/4 inch floppy into or a 3.5 inch or whatever the hell it was, little hard ones. I don't even remember anymore. But we'd plug those in, download that onto each one of the computers, and then off we'd go. And then they introduced C programming for it and C++, and I'm like, I'm fucked. I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't program.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
No.
mean, that's, when we could do that stuff.
Mhm.
God, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was a lot
I
of
mean,
fun.
it's like
Yeah, and
I can remember
Chuck just put up Wolfenstein. That was another one that was pretty good.
Wolfenstein. Yeah. That was badass. That was like kind of one of the early first-person shooters, the first one of those, and it's
My Leben.
I remember Doom blowing people's minds, and Doom was
Oh,
one of
yeah.
the first ones where, I mean, it's funny now, but I can remember when there was outrage about the violence in Doom. You look at the original Doom they were talking about, go, come on now, this is
That
Yeah,
something
right?
like, really?
But really, that's you got a great point. We've progressed from that, which was an outrage to everybody, to where we've got how many kids playing GTA?
Yeah.
You
They
know
steal a
that
cop
that
car, pull up next to her, beat
well, yeah,
her up,
This is
throw her in the
and
back of
all
the car.
all kinds of stuff, and nobody, nobody
That's
thinks
not
twice about
people.
it. But it's part of it is what we've been exposed to over the years too. We've gotten dulled and numb to violence.
yeah.
You know,
Completely. I mean, I can remember they were always coming for the video games in the 80s and the 90s, always. I mean, no matter what it was, the amount of games they were trying to ban. I mean, even when we're talking like 8-bit, 16-bit games, they'd say how violent they were. And they'd be like, not really. It's like, it just
Yeah.
seems like you need something to have moral outrage about, and you chose this. It's something
Yeah.
kids are playing
Right?
you don't understand, therefore it must be bad.
Yeah, well,
And
before
Right?
that, it was the Dungeons and Dragons players, because we had
yeah,
one group that went into the sewers and never came back out.
yeah.
Well,
All
we
right.
call that Darwinism.
Yeah, we lost 6
Darwinism.
morons. I just felt the brain get lighter.
We lost
You know,
6
it's
morons.
a bit more
I
air and
like
food
that.
for everyone. Fantastic. We didn't lose any
That's-
Nobel Prize winners here, did we? We're good.
No.
They're not winning any prizes for being intelligent.
But this is I mean, I can
Fuck
remember
me.
some of the games they tried to ban. I remember Evil Dead coming out on the Spectrum. It was
Oh,
a
wow.
Spectrum
Yeah.
48K, and they were like,
Yep.
"This needs to be banned immediately." If you've seen it, I mean, I'm sure you could get Google images of the original game. You're like, "Sorry, what are we banning?"
Yeah.
Because
Why?
Why?
Yeah. It's all like, it's like a green screen game. You're like, why are we banning this? And this
Wow.
is just strange, man. But
I think one of the
yeah.
fun things was the gaming community to fight back. Used to do all kinds of crazy stuff. They'd load in, for example, I remember what is it, Warcraft and Starcraft. If you got your little guys and you kind of double or triple clicked on it, they'd say all kinds of different things. As you're playing along.
Jeff's talking about dial-up internet down there. Mom, hang up the phone. I'm downloading a game.
Dude, yeah, you ain't kidding.
I
remember.
tell my kids the same story. My very last day of school, literally, I finished school at 3:15, and it was about 3:10. They managed to log onto the internet for the first time, and that was on my very last hour at school. It took him hours to log on. It was AOL. And we could keep hearing the dial-up happening, and it just wouldn't connect. You'd get that thing that it would try again and redial. It was that for hours, and eventually he got on, and we were all kind of looking at it going, now what? And then
even when it did connect.
And the funny thing is, and this is watch these guys' faces, everybody. The thing is we could tell what kind of a modem you had and how fast it was capable of going by the different tones that it achieved as it was connecting, because the higher it went, the more tones you went through as it kicked up higher and higher, going, oh, okay, I can do more. I can do more. I can do more. You see?
I do remember that game, Big Chuck. They had a whole lineup of rated X games for the Atari. And this was the one where Custer was trying to get with the Native American women. And I think it was his pecker. And there was that. And there was a bunch of them for Atari, rated X games.
There was one again, and I mean, this happened when PlayStation became a thing, because and now they didn't start with PlayStation, but game piracy. I mean, when you could get games on cassette, you could just record the cassette. But I know PlayStation was sort of the first big one to be hit with piracy with the copy of the discs. And one of the big ones I remember being, again, a very sort of black market commodity was a game called Thrill Kill. that was banned
remember
before it
that
ever
game.
came out. Do you remember that?
I remember the
I
name.
do
I don't
remember
think I ever
that.
played it. Yeah.
It was never released. Well, it was. But I'll come to that. It was a game. It was like a 4-person beat 'em up, and it was sick.
Okay.
I mean, everything in it was kind of gross. I mean, there was one of the characters. It was all set in an asylum. One of the characters was like the body. He didn't have any limbs. There was another one that was like a dominatrix, and it was sick. And I mean, it was like you'd have like 3-way death moves and things like that, and it was brutal. But for a game that was never released, I know thousands of people that have played this fucking game because it was just sort of the game, and so everyone had a copy of it. But they did then release it. They released it as the Wu-Tang Clan game. So they released a game called, I think it was even called, it was Taste the Pain, I think it was called. But I remember playing it for the first time and going, this is Thrill Kill. And they just changed the characters. So the characters in it were the Wu-Tang characters, but it was Thrill Kill. It was the exact same game. They just changed the characters.
All right,
Change it, released it later.
Scott, you're gonna hate me for this, and I'm gonna apologize. I'm apologize up front, but you just kind of set several things in motion. Would you do me one favor?
Mm-hmm.
Would you look in your best voice, go, "It's only a flesh wound."
Oh.
It's only a flesh wound.
Marty Python.
As soon as you talked about the body and the fight, I went, "Oh shit, here we go."
Your arm is off. No, it's not.
He's got no arms.
Tis but a scratch.
I'm sorry.
It's cool. Black Knight is something we use in England. We use it all the time. Whenever we've got a buddy that's trying to style something out, like they've took a hit on the rugby field or something like that, and they're acting like it doesn't hurt. Tis but a scratch is what we're all saying. It's like, dude, don't pretend you ain't hurt.
We had in 2 companies I worked for, we had, before they got real uptight about everything, we had downloaded for your email the thing from Monty Python. Zoom, message for you, sir. So, back in the old school days when you got the old cubes, you're hearing pop up from all over around because everybody had speakers. Way over the zing, message for you, sir. Zing, message for you, sir. And I was just like, you just bust out laughing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. God.
Shit.
But we would, and with regards to the PlayStation piracy, that was again. I mean, when it came to, I remember the first time seeing a PlayStation run in, and it blowing my fucking mind. It was a friend of mine saying, "Oh, it's from Sony," and I'm like, "I wouldn't touch that." And the reason why was about a year prior to this, the Philips CDI had come out. Now, I don't know what it was called. Remember the CDI?
I remember the CDI. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it was trash.
It was Philips, throwing their hand into the console market, and we're like, "Well, if you ain't Nintendo, you ain't Sega. There's no point you being here at that point because Atari had sort of fallen out of the battle, and it was just Nintendo and Sega were the last two kind of standing. And then when Sony was saying, "Oh, we're doing a console," we're like, oh, "That's going to be shit." And I said to my friend, he was holding out for a Sega Saturn at the time, and I said, "Yeah, don't get the PlayStation, man." But the PlayStation released before it over here. And he went and bought it. And I remember going, "Dude, I think you've made a mistake. You can get I mean, they're giving 3DIs away at this point." But when I saw it running, I was like, what the fuck? I'm watching the actual, I mean, the fact that now it's video footage. It's not pixelated video footage. It was video footage. Going like, oh my God. And it blowing my mind. And then the soundtracks on the games were like Wipeout. I remember seeing Wipeout playing for the first time. And it's actually got tracks by The Prodigy and Underworld, and the actual track is playing, not some sort of tinny 8-bit version of it. The actual track. And I'm thinking, God damn! And that it was huge. The jump from 16-bit to 32-bit was huge. I mean, it was like swapping a catapult for a heat-seeking missile. It was insane. It was that huge a leap. And you don't always get that massive a leap. I mean, it's like the leap from the PS4 to the PS5. The graphics are a bit better. I mean, it runs smoother, but it wasn't that humongous a leap. The leap from 16-bit from cartridge consoles to the next generation was insane.
That was huge.
It was massive.
That was huge.
You could actually say that there was a similar leap when you went 32 to 64-bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't so much that the gaming was cleaner, but you could handle more in the way of the video.
The processing power,
Yeah, so we really went to, that's when we really kind of went to HD. you know, on a lot of that, and it was richer. You know, you're looking down the barrel of a tank, and through the sight, and you can see, you know, here's the other tank over here, and there's the ground, but oh look, there's a little shrub.
What's up, Rick?
And there's a flower, and there's a cloud. You know, I mean, it's just the extra additions to it. You know, where it didn't change anything, didn't make you a better game, but it was just more of a richer environment to play in.
It's what's stunning about it is if you look at the games that came out, I'd say 95 to 98, in kind of the early sort of era of those games, and Metal Gear Solid being one of them. The shit that Metal Gear Solid could do compared to me just 3 years prior to that, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was like the height of gaming technology. Now all of a sudden, fucking Metal Gear, I'm like, wait, I can lure these people out, like the AI in it. You can just tap on the door and they'll come over. That had never been seen on a game before. That was insane. No. And
you know, it's funny you mentioned Sonic.
They were trying to,
because I looked at like 5 or 6 different lists of the top 100 video games of all times. You know, and it's from different sources. You know, this one was from the IGN. This one was from PC Gamer. This one was from, you know, you know, just everybody's doing their own. Wikipedia has. You do not find Sonic anything in any of those, and Sonic made some money.
Oh,
Sonic made some money for those guys.
Sonic is easily playable. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I like Sonic the Hedgehog. I do. I was a Sonic kid. I had a Sega. It was called the Mega Drive in England, but the Genesis over in America, I believe it was called.
Sega
I had one of those.
Yep.
So I had Sonic the Hedgehog, and I played the shit out of it, and I loved it. But again, there's no defense for me in saying, oh no, it's one of the greatest of all time, because it ain't. It's for me, it was a fairly generic platformer. It was fast. It was pretty to look at. But would I say to me, if you want to see the optimum in gaming, it would be this? No, not at all, because it just isn't. It's not there.
Yeah.
But they are. I mean, I know there are people that are seriously into Sonic, but Sonic was just, it was too fast for me. I think as a platform game, it's you see all these gorgeous things happening, especially on the later ones, like Sonic CD and things like that. You'd see all these amazing things happen, but you are zipping by it at such a rate of knots that you're not really appreciating the game. It's just kind of bedlam.
Yeah.
And
I think I have to agree with you on that. Yeah.
The character, I think, is a classic. The games, not so much. And I think that's that would be my kind of take on it. I do love Sonic the Hedgehog, but no.
I like Sonic. I just found it too repetitive. I don't. It's the same shit every level. Go around the fucking loop, you get some coins. You hit a spike, you lose all your coins. You get the rest of the coins.
Now, one of the fun ones when I was in college, note the air quotes there, was Gauntlet. Gauntlet was awesome. Yeah, you want to talk about an addictive game? You had a wizard, you had an Amazon, you had a barbarian, and you had a thief. And each one had their bonuses and their pluses and their minuses. But man, you're sitting in the middle of fighting something, and wizard needs food badly. What the fuck?
Red Elf is about to die. Red Elf is about to die.
Run!
Barbarian is dead. You know, and it was I think one of the first games I saw where it was cooperative instead of competitive. There was not a competitive mode for this game.
Yeah.
And it really was kind of a breath of fresh air, because up to that point you had everybody fighting back and forth and dueling and everything else. But this is one of the ones where you really kind of had to work together. And it led to a couple of things with my son. We played. I can't handle the later versions of Call of Duty, but if you go back to Ghost Protocol, the cooperative version of that, where you're playing split screen top and bottom, that was a lot of fun that that we did together, and some of the ones that we played that way. Loved that to death.
You're right about co-op games where you're not fighting against each other, because I mean, it's like even early examples like Double Dragon, you're playing together, But at the
Yeah.
end, you got to fight each other. That was the if you completed Double Dragon as 2-player, they'd make you fight each other. So you'd have to beat your buddy to death at the end of Double Dragon. And,
I love you, but I'm sorry you're about to die.
Yeah, it's like this is some bullshit. It's like, no, you got to fight your buddy at the end.
This is bullshit.
Yeah.
You go through this epic battle together.
Nothing but love, boot to the head.
So
shit.
So I'm getting a lot of sun glare on my camera here. It's Double Dragon's a good one as well. I remember Double Dragon being one of the games when I was a kid that everybody would be in line for to play.
Oh yeah.
And it was a precursor to Street Fighter. So you had those scrolling beat 'em ups first. So you had Final Fight and Double Dragon, and then the Ninja Turtles came along. That was huge. When Ninja Turtles came out, I remember people losing their minds over that.
Simpsons Arcade too was huge here.
Simpsons Arcade,
Simpsons Arcade was awesome.
A lot of those were all kind of very similar versions of another one, because I believe there was the Simpsons, Ninja Turtles, I think there was a G.I. Joe, and I know there was an X-Men that were essentially the same cabinet. So you had the 4 controllers on them.
Just different characters.
Well, the cool thing with the Ninja Turtles over here was in the UK, Ninja Turtles was shown on the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, and part of the deal was they said that the name Ninja was too violent for kids. So over here, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were called the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Oh shit!
So we'd never heard it called Ninja. We'd never heard it called Ninja Turtles. We don't ever. So you can. I'm sure it's on YouTube. There'll be versions of the theme tune with Hero Turtle being sung instead of Ninja Turtle. So
wow, the whole theme was different.
Why in the hell didn't they? Why in the hell didn't they just call them Teenage Pizza Turtles?
Exactly. So they also. The other thing that was missing from it is most of Michelangelo's scenes are cut out of the episodes because nunchucks were illegal in the UK.
Really?
So they insisted, so they insisted any scene with Michelangelo using those things be cut. So you rarely saw him. You saw him in the opening credits, and that was about it.
So that's funny, because if you look back, one of the other things I like history-wise is the medieval times. If you look back. The British were the ones that were really the ones that introduced the flail into warfare, and and they did so because it was a common tool used by farmers for beating the wheat. When they farmed it, and it was also something that you could fight at a distance, so the sword didn't get right up in front of you. So that's really kind of funny that they were the owners of the flail, but the banners of the nunchucks. Well,
the movie as well. Most of Michelangelo's scenes are cut out of the movie. Now, at the very end of the movie, the nunchucks play a huge part, because I think, if I remember rightly, Shredder makes them get rid of their weapons and they throw them over the edge of the building. Mikey's nunchucks hang on the side. Splinter grabs them, wraps them around Shredder's pole, and throws his ass over. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. It's been 30 years. If you wanted to,
it's been 30 years. Right?
He wraps the nunchucks.
You haven't seen it by now. Too bad.
It's the spoiler on Walker.
So they cut that out of the movie. So if you watch the movie in England, you don't see what he does. So Shredder just runs at Splinter, and Splinter goes, "Fuck you," and throws him. Like, is that it? That's the whole.
Is that it? What?
With the nunchucks. So when the game came out, and the game played the same theme tune, but it's suddenly singing Ninja Turtles, we're like, wait, what? Ninja Turtles? And it's like, shit, they're lying to us. And that's when we all find out that.
There you go.
That's not right. What's going on?
Yeah. Yep. So it's crazy, but that's how a lot of us found out it was Ninja, not Hero Turtle. We're like, shit, they're lying to us. And it's like Ninja's so much cooler. And it was a trip, man. But they didn't. This is the weird thing. They didn't take it off the action figures. So the action figures of Mikey still came with the weapons. So you could buy a toy of it. You just couldn't see it on the screen, or it was weird, man. But yeah, that's where that came from. But
he just didn't have a weapon?
No, he had it.
You just didn't see. I mean, he had it. The toy had it. But in the cartoons, they just cut the scene out. If there was anything where he was using it, they just cut him out clean. So I believe his intro sequence was different as well.
I was gonna say that made for some rough cartoons.
Yeah, there's some rough edits.
Right?
So they'd edit in different shots, or like they'd freeze frame a shot, and you just hear his dialogue, like one of them was listening to him.
Oh wow, that's rough.
Yeah, it was bad, but yeah, they edited the shit out of it. But yeah, that's what happened.
Wow,
It's,
that's cool
That's
though.
messed up. You know, there's a whole nother. You actually touched on it earlier. You were talking about Paperboy with the handlebars.
mhm.
You know, there's a whole line of video games where you had actual moving parts, where you actually jumped onto something or you sat into it. Or
Well, that's almost
one of the
like
first ones, remember, was Mike Tyson boxing.
Oh yeah.
Where you were, you know, you were sitting there boxing back and forth, and then
yeah.
shortly after that, they actually came out with a thing where you could sit, and it was punch out, I think is what they called. But basically, you put a quarter in, you step back, and you wailed on what looked like a speed bag, and they would
Oh
rate you
shit.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
to
yeah.
you know how hard you hit. You know, where you had these other ones, and I it's my one that I personally hated, because the arcade that we had near us at the time put them too damn close together.
Huh.
But the motorcycle games where you actually climbed onto a bike and you
Yeah.
had to lean and
Mhm.
turn. Well, if you didn't play cooperatively and
Yeah,
stay
you'd
in the
be hitting
same
each other.
place, you would end up with two people leaning into each other. And let me tell you something. Yeah, you can get a concussion from that.
Yeah.
I believe that.
So that was now I know why bikers wear helmets.
Uh,
Yeah.
I can remember being taken to the beach one summer, and it was the year Outrun came out, and the massive crowd around that machine,
Oh yeah.
because it was the full hydraulic cabinet.
Yep.
And at the time, people
Oh,
were like,
yeah.
shit, what is this thing? And it was the first time, because they had the entire car. I mean, there were multiple versions of the Outrun cabinet. I think
Yep.
there was a stand-up
Yeah.
with just the wheel. There was one, but there was one that had the full car.
Oh yeah.
And this is
Shook
what they had.
Oh, shit.
shook and everything.
Yeah,
And it was a
people were like,
dollar. It was the first one that was $1 to play.
yeah, people
Oh,
were
yeah.
losing their fucking minds over this thing. What is this? And it's like, yeah, it's crazy. But it games. There are very few games I can remember that drew crowds. I remember that being one of them. Dragon's Lair was another one. I remember when Dragon's Lair first hit
God.
arcades,
Yes.
and people are like, what the fuck is this? This is a cartoon. This isn't a
Yeah.
video game. And it's yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
blowing people
Did-
away.
Yep.
Dance Dance
Afterburner was
Revolution
another?
in the arcades. Always
Oh,
used to
That's another one.
have
Dance
a
Dance
crowd.
Revolution.
I'm sorry.
Always used to have a crowd.
I'm with Gabriel Iglesias on that. It's a fun game, but they need things that are more fluffy friendly as far as songs. Because I'm gonna
Right?
tell you,
I'm
gonna
not
tell you
dancing like
what,
an idiot in the middle.
I watched my son do that once, and he looked at me and I'm like, don't even think, no,
No, not happening.
never.
That's
Yeah,
what killed.
If there
That's
was a
what killed
game
the
that was like
arcade
Remote
scene,
Control
yeah.
Revolution, and I could just sit in like a fucking lounger.
Yeah, oh yeah.
This is
See,
the
that's
game
my
you can
style
scroll
of
through
game.
channels and turn the volume up and shit. I'd be like,
You're
watch a
right.
master.
That's right.
Let's go.
I can do it twice.
Dragon's Lair. That's another one that's still on record as being one of the hardest games of all
Yeah,
time.
Dragon's Lair was a bitch. I mean,
Yep.
Oh,
it's one of
fuck.
those things where I've seen people speed run Dragon's Lair, and you can complete it in about 8 minutes, I think.
Oh,
Because
shit.
once you know the kind of pattern, it just
Yeah.
it's muscle memory. You can just fly through it. And I had a friend called Chris who could do it on Space Ace, which was like, it was kind of like a sequel to Dragon's Lair, but it was
Yes.
so it was the same
Oh,
sort of, it was like Don
shit.
Bluth animation, but it was like a space version of Dragon's Lair. And he could
Yeah.
just throw a quarter in and be like, ba, 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 and just fly through this. And be like,
Done.
holy shit.
Space Ace. Oh my God, I remember that. I remember hating that game.
Yeah.
Zelda's classic.
The
Yep.
worst thing
I
about
don't think
Dragon's Lair
there's.
is if you'd
I
never
don't
played
think-
Dragon's Lair before, you didn't know how to play it. So you put your quarter in, and then someone would flash, and you'd be like, what the fuck, I'm dead? And it's like, what? Did it even
Yeah.
start? You thought it was the intro screen. And it's like, no, that was
Right?
your go. That's another 50 cents.
How does it go?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yep.
The fuck?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's another one. It's funny you talk about patterns. Tron was another
Tron.
one.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that
yeah.
was, you want to talk about a complicated pattern. Whoo-wee.
A lot
that
of-
was something.
See,
lot
in my
of
town, we had one arcade in my town called Spellbound, right? And it wasn't a place of fun. It was a very dark arcade. And the way it works is in the UK, I know certain states of the US are different, and I don't know what Canada's rules are on gambling. But in the UK, we have in practically every single bar or pub, we have they're called fruit machines over here, but the kind of the one-armed bandit things. They're in every single bar in the UK, and you can. I mean, there's jackpots them of like £200, £300. So they'd always be in the same arcade. So you'd have an area roped off. You had to be over 18 to go into that have those in it. And then they cottoned on, well, kids are spending money on these things. This is the kids area. So you'd go in it, and it was very dark and very seedy, and there'd be like kind of guys that were just gambling away their wages in there, smoking. And then we're trying to play, you know, fucking air bike cop in the corner, while some guy's losing his mind because he's just lost the rent. And we'd have the guy in there was like militant, right? So we had this dude who would walk around. What are you doing? And you'd have to say, I'm waiting for a go, because if you said I'm watching, you were just collared and out the door, right? It's like this ain't free entertainment. It's like, if you ain't waiting for a go, your ass is out. And it'd be like, damn. So that was the place where we go for the bulk of video games. But then we also had our local leisure center, which was like where the swimming pool was, had a bunch of games. So they'd let you in there and you could play them there. But the only other time we'd get access to a lot of games were like traveling carnivals. They'd turn up with portable arcades. So they'd be here for 2 weeks, and we'd be down, and we would just be churning money through. And the one game I remember that lived way longer than it should have, but always had a massive line of people waiting to use it, was the original Star Wars arcade game, where you're doing the trench run. And it'd be like, this thing's old as shit, but it's like people were still, I want to play this game, and they get right into it. They really would.
Yep, I remember that.
Shit. I remember that game. Shit.
Yeah. It was. It never did it for me. I mean, it was old school. It was like a green screen. It was. I mean, the graphics weren't great, but people still loved that thing, man. 10 years after it came out.
Well, it's funny you talk about ones that shouldn't have gone as far or done as well as they did. What about Ghosts and Goblins?
Mm-hmm.
Ghosts and Goblins. I hated that game.
That was
so hard.
That was about what? Huh?
A time ago.
Yeah. The one that stands out for me as well, I remember this being at the swimming pool, was track and field.
Track and field?
I think they must have had to replace so many buttons and joysticks on that thing, because you just like it.
Right?
Shit wagging the It's like, damn, you'd hear those machines just getting hammered, and you think that can't be good for it.
I think I remember that one.
They must have had to have them reinforced.
They'd have the race, and it would just be A B A B A B, but you'd see these people, and it's like, damn. And then some of the ones on there, there'd be like a javelin. You'd have to throw the javelin. You'd have to hit the buttons as fast as you can, and then use the controller to get the perfect angle.
Oh yeah,
that's right. Yep.
Well, you'd have to be a fucking mathematician to get any sort of score on this thing, because after you've been doing this right now, I'll just work out the geometry of this thing, and we're good. And it's like,
fuck, no shit.
Yep. Well, what about
calculator?
What about the Indiana Jones series?
Yeah, I remember Temple of Doom. I remember that being in Spellbound. That's one of the games where I'm just waiting for a go. That was in. I remember Indiana Temple of Doom being in there.
I mean, that was our big thing. It's kind of funny. It's almost like the rise and the fall of arcades was almost a precursor to, because they rose at the same time as malls did, in America. But they fell a lot faster, and now you look, and the malls are by and large, there are some that are still doing okay, but by and large the mall, there's a mall in every freaking town,
right,
and most of them now, you can look on YouTube, you can look, do a Google search for, abandoned places that are rotting and falling apart. Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
I remember Susan telling me there's one she wants to take me to up in Canada. It's Canada's Wonderland or something like that.
Yeah, that's our Disneyland or whatever. That's what Canada has.
Yeah, which is supposed
Canada's
to be
Wonderland.
it's supposed to be like an indoor mall and then extra stuff to it. And
Wonderland. No, Wonderland's a theme park.
Okay, well, what's the one that's got the mall?
West Edmonton Mall.
Is that?
It's got to be West Edmonton Mall. They have a roller coaster, and
yep. Okay, that's
it's like inside a mall.
Yeah. Okay.
I think a lot of what killed the arcade was the home console. When the consoles became as powerful, if not more powerful, than what you could get in the arcade, the appeal of the arcade was dead. Because I can remember there were games in the arcade where you'd get versions on the home consoles that were okay, but they sure as shit weren't what you were getting in the arcade. They were nowhere near as good.
What killed the arcade over here was when they made, like, they brought in all those high-tech rider games, and they were $1. When it went from quarters to $1,
I mean,
that's what killed it
again,
over here.
I think why they're in is because the traditional games that we grew up with, I don't think would do well in arcades now. There's no reason to play
No.
them. So there's no reason for us to, I mean, again, say Street Fighter 2 is a good example. Once Street Fighter 2 was available in the home and it was as good as what it was in the arcade, why are you going to the arcade and pumping all your money into it where you could just buy the game and you and your buddies could play the shit out of it without having to leave the house?
Yep.
So
and
the
just
only way
push
to sort of,
continue.
so I think to
You'd
lure
have to
people back
start
into
over.
the arcade, it's got to be experiences in an arcade you can't do at home, which is why you start getting these games with the giant guns and the big hydraulic cabinets, because otherwise, what's going to be? I mean, because I took my kids to the bowling alley the other week, and literally the only games they had were those games. It was things in hydraulic cabinets. It was things with large light guns. There was one that was huge. It's the biggest arcade cabinet I've ever seen. It was massive. This thing was like the size of a fucking garden shed. It was huge. And
shit.
it was a zombie game, so it's got light guns attached to it, but it's also got vehicles, so 8 people can play it. So there were 4 cars.
But
each car could sit 2 people, so you could have 1 firing and 1 shooting. But this thing was huge, and
shit.
it was £2 a go, which would be about $3. And again, I think it's that. I think at home you could just, well, I'll just download the game and play it myself. I don't need to pay to do this. But if you want to get in the cabinet and experience that, I think that's why they resorted to this, because it's the only way you could lure people in to spend.
Well, I think that there is a possibility you could get an arcade going again. It can be done.
I mean, for our generation, definitely. I couldn't walk past one. If I was walking past one, I looked through the window and it had all the. I'd be like, "Oh,
that's
fuck!"
gotta
I'm
be
in.
your target market.
It's got to be the retro gamer's got to be your market. I mean, if you walk past when they had like, here's all the Mortal Kombats and here's every Pac-Man and here's Saturday night's main event and things all in there, you'd be like, oh shit, you'd be in there spending your money,
Yeah, no,
I had this vision.
Oh God.
Yeah, I had this vision.
Is it that kind where you're standing on top of a pyramid and god robes with a lot of? Never mind.
You make a arcade, but you also have a barn, and it's 19 and up. Yeah, and you call it barcade. Barcade.
Yeah,
they have that here in the States. It's called Dave and Buster's.
They have Dave and Buster's, and again, that's not for little kids.
Yeah.
You don't go. It's middle-aged guys like us that go into Dave and Buster's to play video games.
What I think in order to get an arcade back going again is you've got to get yourself not the dark area anymore, but you've got to get yourself a lighted area where you've got a number of computers that are networked together.
Yeah.
With fast internet, and the problem is you can only have so many on the same router before it starts to bog it down. But what you do is you load up a number of different video games. You give the option of running with a controller or with mouse and keyboard, whatever makes you happy, and you charge people for time for sitting there. And that's how you make your money is you charge them per hour of play. So you know what? So what if you die 15 times? You got an hour's worth of play. It's kind of like when we go to bars now as adults, and we go to play pool. Well, you're not charged per game of pool. You're charged for how long you rent the table for.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you would what you'd you get folks back into, and then you just have snacks and drinks and whatnot, and somebody who walks around and makes sure that you don't have anybody who's using the computer to hack in or do something else.
There's definitely a market. Someone's cottoned on that our generation have now got a degree of disposable income, and we have got a hankering for our old games. And there's that company Arcade 1UP that it's about 2/3 size versions of classic arcade cabinets. So you can buy a Street Fighter cabinet, you can buy a Ninja Turtles cabinet for they're about $1,000, I think.
Not even that. You can buy miniature versions in Walmart down here for less than $200.
Yeah. And I mean, so it's clearly there. I mean, I bought my kids a couple for Christmas, tiny ones, very little ones. I bought them. One of them got Dragon Ninja, Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, and the other one got Burger Time. Sorry. So it was,
Oh,
it was
God,
tiny little
Burger
versions
Time.
of those. Remember Burger
Burger
Time?
time.
But, just
Oh,
cute little
wow.
things, and it's like, man,
You want to
Burger
talk about
Time.
raging?
So sorry, we are closed now.
yeah.
God,
Oh,
I
man.
remember those commercials.
And that was, I mean, again, there's clearly a market for these things because we do
Yeah.
remember these things fondly, and it's kind of, it's all of it. I mean, I mean, I watch Stranger Things, and whenever I see them go to an arcade on that, I'm like, oh shit, I'm looking in the background of the games I played, and like, I remember that, I remember that, and yeah, it's
Yeah, and Devilish, you're right. Dave and Buster's does allow kids. I'm sorry. This is,
It
I
does allow
say it. I
kids.
say it because we went out as adults. We went out drinking
The
and then
kid,
playing.
yeah.
And there is nothing quite as funny and entertaining as watching a bunch of us adults from that age get drunk and try and play our games.
What I didn't
Yeah.
mean like they didn't allow kids. I just mean the kids aren't the ones paying. Like you take a kid to Dave and Buster's and they think it's silly most of the time because like, well, I can do this at home. What's
Oh no,
Mm.
dude, no,
what's
no,
the
no,
point
no,
of
no.
this? Like,
No. You take a kid to Dave and Buster's. That's like taking a kid to Chuck E. Cheese. You go lose your money on the same game, skee ball.
Uh,
CJ's
Skee-Ball, 'cause-
13th birthday, we took 12 teenagers to Palladium in Toronto. I don't advise.
Oh,
Do
no,
it.
see,
Don't do it.
the big thing here was laser tag.
Oh
oh
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, take a bunch of teenagers to laser tag and stand up where you can oversee everything. You know what? You're gonna have a funny bit of entertainment there. I wish to God I had had a video camera with sound. I'd have made a killing on America's Funniest Home Videos. Wow.
Yeah, we had something set up like that there, Dark Knight. There's you can like rent a system and have it at your table or something. I've never been, but
Well, they've
I've heard of
started
it.
doing that. Yeah, they've started doing that here to a point. Applebee's and some of the other places you go in, and they've got especially airports. They've got a little console that's almost like a tablet that sits at the table, and you can place your order, without having
Yeah.
some waitress come around or a waiter come around.
Yeah.
You can pay from the tablet. You can play songs on the tablet. You can use the tablet to read the news and or check your email. I don't recommend doing that, by the way. Or you could play video games. Now they're not the world's greatest video games, but they do have video games that you can play on it. And Tetris is one of the big ones.
I took a flight to Orlando I mean, it's gone back about 10 years ago, but they had you could pay for a controller, and they had Super Nintendo games in the back of the chair.
Oh wow.
And I played the shit out of it. Was Super Punch Out for about 10 hours on this flight. I'm like, yeah, that's me sorted.
Oh wow.
I remember.
That'll make your plane ride quicker.
Speaking of those, in pizza parlors, they used to have little table games. So instead of being a cabinet, you would sit down on opposite sides of the table. And you're looking down at the table. Now I'm gonna tell you this. I don't know about either one of you guys. My eye-hand coordination is not the same when I'm looking down at a table as when I'm looking up.
No.
I don't know what
that's for
happens.
sure.
Call it gravity. Call it I'm imbalanced. Which hey, let's not go there. It's I can't play those that well.
Well, also, I'm in my 40s now. My back and neck couldn't take it. I'm out after 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm done with this.
That's it. This is too much work.
I'm a wee bit further along than you are, so yes, I understand that one. So enjoy those while they're there, because once you hit the things change a little. Yeah, they tell you there's no magical age. They lied. Bullshit.
No shit.
I worry about my
50.
kids' necks
Oh,
because of the way they're constantly looking like this at phones and shit.
Right.
It's funny. There's a thing. You just went mute.
He done lost his mic. That's okay. He'll get it back.
There he is.
There he is.
What did you hit? Say something.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Say something, Scott. Hello, operator.
He's checking it out. He's having difficulties like I did. Like being 8 minutes late for a show because the damn thing won't load.
Okay.
I must have. I think we. No, it's cutting in and out.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. Say something
Yeah,
again.
sorry, but
There you go.
how about
you're
now?
back.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
I
Yeah,
just noticed you got Super Mario World in your background.
Yeah,
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. I like that.
Sorry, I stayed with the logo. So
Oh, it's all good.
I was trying to choose something where I thought what would be good, and it's like I'll be honest with you, I didn't play this one much. I played it. I never owned it. I had a buddy that played it. We played the shit out of it, and
Oh yeah.
my kids have got it on the Switch now because that's a good one as well. If your kids have got a Switch, they've got a classic. It's like a couple of bucks a month, and you can go in and play a shitload of old Super Nintendo games. And Super Mario World's on there, and it's worth every penny, man. It really is. But it's I was trying to decide. I was going to go for the Final Fantasy VII world map, but it's not that obvious of what it is. I think if you look at it, you go, "What the fuck is that?" Just look at a map. But that was again, that's part of what I miss about the game of my generation, particularly the kind of the second iteration of it, was games like Final Fantasy were just so immersive that it didn't involve. I think a lot of games now are kind of cheap thrills, where it's like, here is a very quick pick up and play. Here's 5 minutes of this, bam, it's over. Whereas Final Fantasy, you needed to devote months of your life to that shit to complete that one game, and it was
Oh yeah.
World of Warcraft, EverQuest, Zelda. I'm trying to think. There's a ton more of them. DDO, Dungeons and Dragons Online.
Yeah.
All of those. Had the graphics. Had the progression, had the ability to save and move on. Minecraft now, same thing. You do with that. Star Trek Fleet Command. Log in and out of that, which by the way, I'm in. Anybody wants to join in with a decent alliance, to hit me up. I'll get you hooked up. So
for me, Final Fantasy VII was the first sort of game where the story was, for me, epic. It was the first one I played like that, because again, before 3 years prior to this, we were still on 16. We were still on Super Mario 3 and shit like that, and then Final Fantasy VII comes along. It's got just this epic, sprawling storyline, akin to something like a Lord of the Rings. I mean, just the way the story just goes on, and you meet all these new characters that come into it, and then you have characters that when they die, they're gone. They're not coming back, and you don't get over that shit. You're like, oh my god, it was so immersive, and still to this day, that game will always hold a place in my heart, because I remember playing the shit out of that, and just never knowing what was coming up, and just epic. When I first looked at it, I thought this looked shit, because I didn't understand the battle system. And if you don't understand what you're looking at, you're just watching numbers. It looks like a number swapping game where you're seeing a hit go, and you're like, what is this? You're taking it in turns to hit each other. This ain't what I'm used to. But then once you know the game and you're watching something that you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Whereas other people are like, it's just number swapping. You're like, no, you don't get it. This is incredible.
You got to get into it. Yeah. They don't get it. Final Fantasy 3 did that for me. Even though it was like the bit one, but that was one of my favorite storylines. You have to read your storyline, right?
Some of those, like I can't remember the name of this. Was it A Link to the Past? Was that the first Zelda that came out on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah, A Link to the Past. Yep.
Or Link's Awakening.
I'm pretty sure.
I can't remember. That was epic as well. I remember that coming out and being like, God damn, this is some next level shit.
Yeah.
Oh, we had people that dressed up, as Zelda characters for Halloween for the first year that it came out. Mm-hmm. I think that year was the biggest costume that sold.
Yeah. Crazy.
But you look at it now. They're still doing it now. You can still walk into any Halloween shop, and buy costumes. We had Pac-Man costumes that were for sale this past year. I looked at them like,
do you know what? I was on a weekend to Ibiza, which is one of the Balearic Islands, and it's kind of known as a party island. It's very kind of drink heavy, bachelor parties and bachelorette parties. That's the kind of place. And I saw a bachelor party that were there that all went in costume, and they dressed the groom as Pac-Man, and all the other guests, there was about 30 of them, all the ghosts. And the amount of times we
that's
just see this poor
hilarious.
bastard running whilst the rest were chasing him down these bars.
Oh shit, that's fucking great.
That would have been awesome.
You just
Oh,
because you just see
shit.
Pac-Man come around the corner running, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" And then all these ghosts would just come flying around after him.
See, that's
I love
that's how I'd ruin a beer.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Oh wow. Yeah. And somebody put
Batman
something
on
up
the
there about
Amiga.
Castlevania. That's
Castlevania?
That's old school.
Simon's
And
Quest.
That's the thing I like about games like Castlevania. And I believe it's Capcom that did Castlevania, or Konami, one or the other. But
Konami.
Capcom and Konami both do the same thing, where they allow their games to sort of grow and age. So you'll be 20, 30 years into Mega Man, and it's still coming out. And there's a whole community of people that's their thing. Mega Man is their thing, or Castlevania is their thing. And they've let it grow and evolve over the years. And that's a gorgeous thing. I mean, there's a lot of disposable media these days where a game comes out, it's loved, and then it's just forgotten about. You don't ever see a sequel to it or anything else. But Capcom and Konami have been very good at building these legacy games, because it's like Street Fighter. You meet somebody who's really into Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
And there are hundreds of characters. They know the backstories, and it's just, man. And Castlevania is one of those. Street Fighter is. Metal Gear was another one as well.
Metal Gear has a
huge
community
of Metal
following.
Gear people that are massive.
Yeah.
And it's stunning to see. If you ever go to like a Comic Con or something like that, you will see people in these outfits that are of these characters, and it's just crazy. Mega Man's another one as well that's weird, because they've always kept that kind of same look. So the latest Mega Man game will still look like a game that came out on the NES. And you're like, Jesus, it's what they like and it's what they want. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Same blue helmet, same blue shooter.
Yeah.
Robotron.
You remember Robotron?
I don't remember Robotron.
It was top-down shooter where you're having to fight against the robots.
No.
To get to level,
vaguely.
You fight your way through the maze, and then get to get out the door, and then you go to another maze.
Yeah, I've got a weird kind of. Yeah, I think I do. I've got some hazy ass memory. Was it very? Were the mazes very purple and kind of red? Was that what you were kind of looking down on? Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other one. Speaking of top down, that we haven't discussed, that I think a couple people went about last week when we started talking about this, was one of my favorites, Frogger.
I liked Frogger. A very frustrating game, but I liked Frogger.
It was, but you know what? You know what made it all the different? Do you remember there was a vinyl album that came out during that age that was done up by a couple of guys named Buckner and Garcia, and the lead song was Pac-Man Fever, but the one that always got my attention was Frogger, because they had this dudes who had a voice kind of like Wolfman Jack, it's go Froggy go. You got to keep on up until you get to the top. Go Froggy go. So,
oh my God.
It was catchy, and it stuck in your head. And as long as you're playing it, and playing that song, the problem is with vinyl, you can't go back and hit rewind, or you can't hit repeat. You got to the song, and it's like, shit, what do I do now? Because right after that, it was either Defender or Centipede song, and I didn't care for either one of those games overly much.
I had a buddy in high school whose name was Darren, but he was known as Frogger. And the reason why is because on the way to school in the morning when we'd walk, we'd have to cross this road, and it was like 4 lanes of traffic, and we'd be standing there forever. It was a really busy road waiting, whereas Dan would just run across it, right? So he became Frogger for his traffic dodging skills.
Dodge the traffic. Shit. Big Chuck said, I just played Frogger the other day.
There were a lot
of died, repeat, yeah.
Again, very frustrating game.
Yep.
Yeah, there was. Fun, there were a lot of those just odd games that came out, and I suppose it was an era where there was
Kung Fu Master.
Master.
That's another one. Yeah.
I remember there was one called. I want to say it was called Yar Kung Fu. There was one called that, and I'm sure there was one called The Way of Exploding Fist. There was one where each sort of new guy you fought had a different weapon. She'd have one that threw ninja stars, and it was like really bad. But there was one that had like a sword,
Oh,
one
yeah.
that had like shit. They've got weapons now, and it would like blow your mind the first time you see it.
It's not a slight.
Duck, dodge, parry, leap, jump, punch.
Duck dodge. Door duck dash.
Yes, I did.
But this is funny. I mean, video games is how me and Chris met. This
Yeah.
is how we
Oh, really?
we play a mobile phone game, and that's a cell phone game, and that's how
champions.
we've been playing it for about 5 years now, and that's how we
wow.
met.
So I known him way before YouTube. I just started YouTube.
The weird thing about this is like, I'm a leader of what's called a faction over there. So a group of people, never wanted to be ever, right? I had no interest in doing this. I just never wanted to. I just wanted to log on and play a game. And then it was like, oh, you got to join one of these in order to do that. I'm like, all right. So I just joined the first random one I could.
Yep.
And then people have been asking me questions. So I'm like, I don't know.
Figure it out.
And then the guy that was the leader of it, this is the weird thing about the kind of toxicity of games. We were in this faction at first. Were you Family Ties, Chris?
I was in Family Ties, first one. And then actually, the guy you're about to say is who brought me in. That's who got brought me in at the beginning.
I bet that's not who
it was. Dum Dum.
No, I'm not going to say him. I'm not going to say him. The original leader we had was a guy called Maze, right? And he'd ask me.
I remember him too.
I'm like, I don't know. And then one day I come in and I've been made like co-leader, and I'm like, why? Because I ain't got time for this shit. I don't have time to do it. And then you end up in Discord chats and line chats and shit like that. I'm like, what the fuck is going on now, right? So it just started getting nuts. And then at one point we had 6 factions. So it's like 600 people. And they're all asking me questions. Now I'm in the UK. The bulk of our player base were in America. So my phone would light up at 3 o'clock in the morning on like a Tuesday.
I don't envy you, man. I don't envy you.
I'd wake up in the morning, I'd look at my phone and go, what the f-? And they'd be like, you have 1,753 unread messages. And I'd be like, yes, delete. And the whole
That's it. Just skip it. All right, what's going on? Yeah. Someone recap me.
And I would just go and say to somebody, did anything of any relevance happen? And they go, no. Like, cool, delete, that's it. And I go on to the next thing. And then it gets really weird. I mean, people get like it's life.
But it's funny you say that. It is for some people. You know, there are people, and the funny thing is thanks to COVID, you know, and everybody being quarantined, there's a whole new wave of people that were never involved with it before that have now gotten involved, that are not necessarily from our generation or from our type of background, you know. So now there's this whole new groundswell of people that are like, oh wow, and you know, either physically and medically they can't get out. You know, it's people who are physically challenged, since we'll be politically correct on this, you know, or people who are no longer comfortable. You know, being out in public or hanging out or anything like that, you know,
socializing.
You know,
that's the entire generation from the last 10 years.
Well, but that's it. This has become, you know, what used to be for us going out to a bar or going out to go hang out. So yeah, you're absolutely correct, Scott. 100%. You know, for some people, this is life outside of work. And
it's good. It's an incredibly positive thing. And I mean, I do it with my channel, with the model building that I do. The way I approach to everything is I kind of, when I do a video, I talk to the camera. So I'm talking, as far as I'm concerned, I'm talking to one person. I'm like, right, this is how we're going to do this. And that's it. And I've had people sort of say to me, I like doing it because it's like I'm building with a buddy, and it's like, and it's great. And I talk to them, and we have backwards and forwards of people. And I've seen people through good times and bad times, and it's nice. And that's great as long as you're in control of a little community. When we had what me and Chris had, and I've got verging on nearly 1,000 people, and I'm like, I can't monitor this. I cannot control this. Yeah. And it got to a point where I'm like, I literally can't do this. And I'm saying to this guy Maze that set it all up, because what he'd do was he'd keep finding more people. but didn't want to do the work.
Yeah.
So like, here's another 100 people. I'm off, and then off he go, and I'm like, you deal with that shit. And I'm like, I'm not dealing with this shit. And it was like, I never wanted to be a leader, I never asked to be. So it got to a point where I want to, fuck this, I'm going. It started getting really toxic to the point where there were nasty shit being said to people. There were women being harassed. And I'm like, I cannot monitor 600 people. I'm like, and I don't want to be part of this anymore. I'm going. So I'm like, I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm not going to defend the game. I'm going. And me and a couple of buddies that I was friends with just sort of went, let's go do our own thing and let's step away from this nonsense. I don't care about being number one. I don't care. I just want to play the game and enjoy it again. So we moved away, and that just caused an absolute shitstorm. I mean, I'm getting death threats from people. I'm getting all. And I'm like, really? We're playing what's essentially Candy Crush with wrestlers. But I've got people telling me they're going to find where I live and they're going to come get me. And I'm like, over a fucking mobile game? And I'm like, are you serious? So when it gets that toxic, you're like, I literally can't do this shit anymore. And it was like, I thought, I refused to give up the game. I enjoyed the game. And I used to play it on the train. I used to get the train to work every morning to like the next town over. I'd sit there playing it on the train thinking, I'm not giving this up because some asshole wants to run his mouth at me. Yeah. So I walked away from that whole part of it. And we just stayed with kind of our good buddies, the ones that we'd speak to in the chats and we'd laugh. Were the ones we kept. That's why Chris is still around, and it's why. And it was the whole thing with that we
still stuck with me.
Yeah, so there's maybe a core of about 50 of us that have kind of stuck together for the past 5 years, and I've seen them get married, I've seen them get divorced, I've seen them have kids, I've seen them go through bereavements, and it's the whole thing. So we're a group of friends, and if you can keep it like that, then definitely these things are fantastic. But it's when it gets uncontrollable, you're like, this is too much. This is insane, and you don't know who you're letting in. Yeah, unhealthy completely.
That's when it becomes unhealthy. Yeah.
The big thing for me was we do a thing called feuding, where it's like you're fighting against other factions, and this would happen it used to happen once a month. Yeah. And I'd have to juggle the people around. So you'd have all these different factions. Like, right, okay, bring this guy over to this one, this guy to this one, and it would take me about 3 days just to sort them out. Yep. And my one rule was, I said this to the guy at the time. This is part of what broke me. Was I'd say, right, I'll do all this, but the rule is on Mondays you leave me alone. I'm like, that's the rule. So I'll do all this shit for you. On Monday, when it's all over and it's finished, you leave me alone. I'm not discussing booting anyone or bringing anyone in or nothing else. I said, I'm tired. I take Mondays off. That's the way it is. But he couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it. So it would be like, I'd just get bombarded with messages and I'd be like, dude, I've got one rule, man. I do all this shit for you. I've got one rule. Don't bother me on a Monday. But he couldn't do it. And again, that was what I just thought, I'm out. I can't. Yeah. I can't be doing this anymore.
It wasn't worth it at that point.
Oh, it became toxic, man. And I mean, again, I'm not going to go into detail, but I've dealt with horrendous people. Some of the people that went through our factions are now serving 20 years in jail for some of the shit they did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Damn.
Yeah, I see. And this is the thing. You take all this on the chin as kind of. It's no different to being kind of the guy that runs the server. I never shared all this with the rest of the faction. I thought I'm not going to let them get exposed to the same bullshit I'm having to put up with. So I'd hear these horror stories and be like, So occasionally someone would go, why is that guy no longer with us? I go, don't worry about it. I'm like, he's taking a break from the game.
You taking time off.
I'd be told, no, he's gone to jail. And I'm like, God damn. And this is someone I've been speaking to for years, has done something horrendous and is now in jail for it. And I'm like, damn.
Wow.
And it makes you question everything then. You're thinking, well, yeah, who else am I hanging out with every day? And that's where it can get toxic, and it kind of spoils the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, a little bit.
But at the flip, if you've got this little close-knit group that we've got and we just game together, it's a blast, man. We enjoy it. And it's no different, I suppose, with channels like this, where it's a good group of people, like-minded, they like the same sort of stuff, they got the same sort of sense of humor, and we can come in and hang out and things like that. It's nice, it's a nice little community.
We have it's funny when my stepson was living with us. He and Susan and I got into what's called War Thunder, which is for all intents and purposes, it's a computer game primarily. Although I think you can play it on Xbox now. But you are in tanks from World War II up. And you can be in German, Russian, American, British, Italian, Chinese, so all kinds of different ones.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, it's fun because you can get into groups of 4, and there's a max of 16 players per side.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a good number.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
you get going, and oh Lord, some of the stuff we did while we were playing together. Mom's just learning, and her son was the one that got us both into it. Again, there seems to be a trend there. Anyhow, here he comes with this little tiny tank that's like a Ferrari on treads, and she's driving underneath the bottom of a hill, and he goes leaping over top of her, and she catches it out of the corner of her eye, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, "Just moving on up to the battle." And I turned around, and I couldn't help it. I'm sitting there. I broke into the Free Willy. Hold me like the River Jordan, and she's starting to laugh. Another time, she gets her stepson's wife, flips on her side in front of her, and she's trying to turn her and get her back on her tracks, and couldn't do it for whatever reason. So while she's laying on her side, Susan's pushing her around with her barrel through the front of the tank. So she's basically pushing her around like a shield through all these battles. She's getting hit and losing tank members and getting pieces blown off. And we're just dying laughing because there's nothing you can do at that point. But that's one of the fun ones, is you find stuff like that, where you can go, and we'll put it down for a while, and then we'll turn around and pick it up, and grab it and go with it. It's a little different now that he's living elsewhere and is remarried. So it's just trying to bring people back in. But we used to call ourselves the family that puts the fun in dysfunctional. We're the fighting family that fights together, stays together.
Oh, that's cool.
And we had a good time. We had a good time with it. We still do. So,
and that's fun. I mean, this is, again, with the little core group that we've got, we've always had this tiny core group. Even when it was huge, there was still just this small group of us
Yeah.
that were back and forth. I mean, this is the thing. It's like my extent of it was like, again, I never asked to be the leader of this thing. It was kind of dropped on me, and I'm like, shit. So I was kind of lumbered with it. But I always I just took the time to check in on people every now and then. If I saw one was, it hadn't been on in a while, I just messaged them, "Are you okay?" And you find out maybe they were going through some crap, or and that's kind of how I always did it. I'd always sort of check in with them. "Are you all right? Not seen you in a few days," and I always kind of had the same thing as well. I wasn't interested in booting people out. There was this big thing where, well, he hasn't scored enough points to kick his ass out, and I'd be like, well. Should we ask him what's up first? I mean, this is a guy we've been speaking to, we're friends with. Before we just kick his ass out, should we ask him what's up? What's happening?
Yep.
And that's
and
Devilish.
Devilish is right. World of Tanks is the other one. So
I've heard of World of Tanks. I used to work with a guy that played World of Tanks. That was he was into that.
Dude, it's a lot of fun. You have a bad day at work. Mm-hmm. You come home. You jump into your tank. You go shoot people. It's legal.
And you blow shit up.
You work your frustration out.
This goes back to the thing we were saying about violent video games. And when there's been this debate for years, do video games cause violence? Well, it depends on the game.
Yeah.
Would be my because again, I mean, I suppose I get where they'd say a game like Mortal Kombat or a game like Medal of Honor or Call of Duty could cause violence, whereas I think a game like Tetris is more likely to cause violence,
right?
Where it's frustrating, where I think someone getting wound up and acting out, I think is more likely to cause an outburst in someone than something that's allowing them to vent anger. So if the game is allowing you to go out and I'm just going to run around and destroy buildings, get out your system. You know what I mean? I think that's likely. I don't think that's going to cause the same level of violence as a frustrating puzzle game is going to cause you.
Yeah.
Where you've tried to do it for the 50th time and now you're throwing shit across the room because you can. I think that's
and on the flip side, we have this horrible, terrible thing called Alzheimer's and dementia that eats away at your brain, and you can actually stave that off, slow it down some by playing certain video games that make you think and keep you going with your eye-hand coordination, and make you work that little muscle that doesn't get so much work anymore.
Work your brain a
we
little
have.
bit.
Yeah, and it's funny you say Tetris. I would say Tetris is actually one of the ones that actually can help. Um, there's a number of word games out there. Words with friends on Facebook is one of the ones I really get a kick out of playing.
Words with friends.
Um,
That's
you
like
know,
Scrabble, right?
Yeah,
I've
it is.
been playing.
It is. So
I've been playing Words with Friends for I'd say probably 10 years with a guy never met, never spoke to. We speak to each other once a year, right? On Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, I'll always message him, Merry Christmas. And he messages it back, and that's it. We never talk about anything else. Occasionally, he'll ask me what a word is. I've never seen that before. But that's maybe once every 6 months, a message will come through. What is that word? And I'll say it's a kind of dog.
It's a kind of dog.
Yeah. But this is a good
Merry
10 years.
Merry Christmas. Sink.
Yeah,
That's a 50-point word on triple score.
Never asked each other that. He's called Grumpy Old Man, and I've been playing with him for about 10 years, and it's non-stop. And I mean, it might take a day before someone makes a move, but it's been about a decade. Never spoken to the guy. But again, Christmas is the only time we go. We acknowledge each other. Merry Christmas.
I've got 3 or 4 folks that play, and some of them will make moves once a day or twice a day. I'll check it when I get up. I'll check it before I go to bed. And, okay,
yeah,
kicking my ass, great. But and there's others that a couple times a week, or every other day, whatever works in. But it's a lot of fun. It's looking at, son bitch, I forgot about that word. Damn. Or exactly what you were saying. What the hell is that?
What is that?
Did you pull that one out of your ass? Yeah. Uh-huh. I learned CINQ is actually a word. I'm like, don't know what the hell, but I'm like,
it's that element of video games again that I think some people don't understand. If they're not in the culture, they're not of the life. They don't see that you can have these connections with people, because the longest time, video games were seen as this nerdy thing that guys hide away in their bedrooms and played on their own, and it was kind of this very and it's just, that couldn't be further from the truth. It's an incredibly communal thing. If you want that, if you want to kind of hide away from the world, it can be that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it can be this incredibly communal thing, where, again, as we said, I mean, I've heard buddies in bars just reminisce about nights they stayed up playing Tekken 2, drinking peach schnapps. That was the thing they remember. And it's I can remember some of the happiest years. Me and a bunch of buddies lived in an apartment together, and we would play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. And that was our post pub game.
Back a little bit, that was a lot of fun.
We'd leave the pub, and it was like, right, let's go play Tony Hawk. And we come drunk as shit, and taking it in turns trying to hit the goals on the levels.
Yeah,
so it'd be like, right,
oh shit.
So it'd be like, it's your go. It's like you try and get the 6 score, and someone will go in, and off they go, and it's and you've all got that one buddy who was like waste of a go. Like, why are we even letting him take a turn? But like, fucking hell, we'd hand him the controller, but well done, you did nothing. Let's go.
Next.
All right, Donna.
Yep.
It was good times, man. Happy times. And as I said, I mean, Tony Hawk's a good example of one where any song from that soundtrack comes on, and it's immediate. I'm back right to those days. And I'm like, oh shit. And it's like, There's a great documentary about it. There's a documentary called Pretend I'm Superman, and it's really, really good. And it's about the making of that game and kind of how many lives it changed, because a lot of the skaters that appeared in it weren't really making money. They were lesser known pro skaters, and pro skating at the time wasn't the kind of beast it is today.
No,
and that game made a lot of them able to pay their bills and shit like that. And it's a fascinating documentary to watch. But it's a really good one.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with the guys I was talking about with Fistful of Quarters of King Kong. They like Steve Wime, is it Wime? I think it is. Wiem, was a nobody until he passed up the previous score that was up there from Billy, and all of a sudden he's on the news, and his wife is known as the Queen of Kong,
Queen of
And like,
Kong.
what the hell, So yeah, and it makes a difference. Now the interesting thing is Billy, who a lot of people say there's pivotal things that change or make their a difference in their life. Billy actually goes in and talks about the fact that competitive gaming changed his life all the way around.
Oh yeah.
Even in his work now, he owns a hot sauce company called Ricky's, and he's got big huge jugs, and he's out there still, even though he's the owner, he's out there still helping deliver and set shelves up and setting displays up and all that, because he wants to be the best at what he does. He wants to be the king of hot sauce. There's a lot of competition in that, but you know what?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how certain things set and change our lives.
Yeah.
And makes a difference all the way around. Chris, did you bring enough to share?
Hmm? Not me.
Did you bring enough to share? You're sitting
Nope.
there chowing. You're sitting down, chowing down, smacking your lips. Uh-huh. Yum, 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 yum. Yeah, and didn't bring enough to share for everybody.
PB&J.
Mm-hmm.
Got this.
I'm telling you, Scott,
Oh,
what
yeah.
are we gonna do with this guy?
I didn't do it. What do you mean?
What's this guy? I'm gonna start showing food videos again.
It's all good.
Yeah. So
we have food, video games, burger time. I think we got to
Food
throw
goes with-
Tapper in there at the same time. Do you remember Tapper?
Oh, Tapper. God, I forgot about Tapper.
The barman
remember
throwing
Tapper.
drinks in the bar.
Oh yeah.
And that was a really good sounding breaking glass they had too.
Yeah.
That's pretty good for 8-bit.
And what was it after you got to like the fourth or fifth screen when he downed that beer at the end and tossed the mug up and it cracks him on the head? It's like, yeah, he's starting to feel it.
And this is the thing that amazed me. Back then, they couldn't make these games fast enough.
Yeah.
So even though there wasn't the capital behind them, so there wasn't the investment in sort of developing these games, there clearly was a lot more freedom of kind of creativity. So, I mean, these days, if you walked into a games company and said, okay, I've got this brilliant idea for a game where a guy's going to throw drinks down a bar to people, they'd be like, no, it wouldn't happen.
Right?
So they're like, yeah, fucking go for it. Let's see what you got, man.
But by the same token, if you stop and think about it, we really were the transition for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how things have changed, over time. Big hair, for the bands, rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
Rock and roll changed when the 80s came along. I mean, we went through a lot of stuff. We went through CGI. We were the birthplace of CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go back and you look at the time, and I remember this coming out in the theaters, and was also a video game for a little bit, Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie Battlestar Galactica on the screen, they had it set up in one of the big theaters, not one of these little theaters that they had split into 16 different ones, but it's in a big theater, and they lined the bottom of the stage, the bottom of the screen, with big woofers and
a Rumble-rama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Rumble-rama.
you sat there and you're the whole theater shook when they did it.
Rumble-rama was developed for Earthquake. There was a movie called Earthquake, and they developed Rumble-rama, which is just massive woofers.
Yeah.
To rumble the floor, rumble the seats, and it was used. Yeah, Battlestar Galactica was one of the only other films that used it.
Yeah,
but I know
it was badass. It was badass back then. You go back and look at the original Star Wars. We killed. I remember. I'm gonna bust myself. Skipping school, hiding behind the theater, waiting for The Empire Strikes Back to come out, and getting in to see the first showing at the theater.
Yeah.
and the special effects and the graphics were just wow. And we look at it nowadays, we see it, it's like, eh, you
Yeah.
know, we
yeah.
have an appreciation for it. It will always catch us and go, yeah, you know.
Absolutely.
But
I remember when I
folks that came along afterwards, you know, now that things have been massively much more developed, look at it and go, really? That was entertaining? That was good? That sucks.
I know.
You know?
It's kind of, I mean, touching on the fact that the new Jurassic World is out, that was another one. When Jurassic Park came out in 1993, the CGI in that blew people's minds because it's like nothing had been seen like that before. It was
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And then it took a long time for anything to look that good because going back to video games, the Mortal Kombat film came out, I think, 2 years after Jurassic Park, the first Mortal Kombat movie, and it was terrible. And it was like they tried to jump on the CGI bandwagon that Jurassic Park had just done and really fucked it up. It was like the cheapest. It looks terrible. You look at the CG in it now; it's awful. Scorpion's got that chain that he throws, and it's got, for no reason, it's got the CGI dragon head, and everything's kind of mirrored, finished. And it just looks terrible. You're like, oh man. And it's hard to believe that film came out after Jurassic Park because the CGI on it is so bad.
That bad? Come on now.
Have you seen it recently?
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
If you go back and look, you go, I remember this being a lot better. It's like,
You could say the same thing about now. Here's a movie that you know, The Last Dragon.
Oh, shit.
You had to rewind on that. Yeah, you know.
Oh man,
show enough. The glow.
That's right. But it's not based off of that. It's based off of the whole thing, you know. And that was the thing, you know. It wasn't based off of, and you're right. Yeah, the little you know, in his face as it wraps around the tree, and he's going up and down the tree, rubbing the bark off. It wasn't that. It was, for me, it was, you know, it was Johnny's dialogue was awesome. You know, Liu Kang's dialogue. I mean, you know,
Mortal Kombat's definitely got moments. I mean, the fact that Goro is not CG, he's a physical effect, I think is quite good as well. Because these days he would just be a full CG creature. I mean, he is in the latest one. He's a full CG creature, whereas in that one, it's a suit. It's a physical effect, which is quite impressive in itself.
Yeah.
But we did. I mean, again, we did have to suffer for our art because we did unfortunately see the first iteration of video game movies, which were notoriously bad. Some of them. I defy anyone to defend Super Mario Brothers the movie. There is no.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Man alive.
And
what the hell?
I'll apologize because I'm probably going to draw the ire of several people, but I didn't care for the original version of Dune.
Oh no, I agree. I think it missed the ball. I think it completely missed the ball.
You know, you go back and you look at the director's cut, 6 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
And even though it was the same crap, the 6 hour I thought was better. And you know, you better be set to binge watch. You know, go to the bathroom, make sure you got your colostomy bag hooked up, and you know, you're set to go because you're gonna be there for a while. I actually thought the 6 hour one was better, even though it was longer. The same, it just felt better. You know, and a lot of people are going to look and go.
I don't know what the first official video game adaptation to a movie was. I'm sure there's a Space Invaders movie, but the actual official, this is genuinely, we're not just ripping it off or jumping on something. This is a genuine adaptation of it. I've got a feeling it might be Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, it could be the first one.
And if that was the case, they pretty much screwed the pooch for everybody.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they really did. Because I can remember taking the kids to see Sonic the Hedgehog. It was just before. The funny story with Sonic the Hedgehog. It was one of the worst decisions of my life. Was I took the kids. I had to make one of two choices: either get a haircut. My hair was really bad, right? Get a haircut, or take the kids to see Sonic the Hedgehog. And I thought, I'll take the kids to see Sonic. I can do with a shit hair for one more week. The next day, they announced lockdown in the UK. I couldn't get my haircut for another 6 months, and I was like, I regret this decision. But going to see Sonic, I remember just thinking, even saying to the kids, it's probably not going to be great, kids. So brace yourself for disappointment. And you know what? It's a pretty good film. Sonic the Hedgehog movie, as video game adaptations go, ain't a bad movie at all. It's quite good. We enjoyed it. But
Oh,
I
shit.
mean, classically, they've been terrible. I mean, video game adaptations. I mean, there are the exceptions to the rule. There are some that are okay, but I
Yeah.
still don't think we've had the definitive. I don't think we've had a single one yet that's been like, that's the one. That's the one that's encaptured all of it in that one there. That is perfect. I don't think that exists yet. I don't. We've got some that are okay. We've got some that are good, but I still don't think we've had our Citizen Kane of video game
No.
movies yet. I don't think it's
No.
landed.
Yeah.
No.
But we've had plenty of terrible ones. I mean, I'm amazed Resident Evil
Lots of
series
bad
ran
ones.
as long as it did. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, they churned those ones with Mila Jovovich in. They churned out so many of those, and it's like, these are just bad. I mean, it got to the point where this is nonsensical now. Like you've
Yeah.
lost all kind of, and it nothing to do with the original game. We're just throwing a couple of the monsters from the original game and some character names, but it's got nothing to do with the original game. And you're thinking, how did you miss the ball this badly? And then Final Fantasy
Right.
did it as well. The Final Fantasy movie Spirits Within came out, and I think 2000. And I remember being like hyped for that, thinking, "Man, this will be good." And it was Final Fantasy in name and nothing else. So it had nothing
Yeah.
to do with any of the games. It was its own
The
story.
Spirits Within. Yeah, that was stupid.
And at the time, the CG was really good. I mean, the character animation was fantastic, but the story itself sucked. It wasn't nothing like. And you're thinking, eh. And there were just some really bad ones. I mean, really, really bad video game movies, terrible ones. There
And
was some
it
that,
was the first two Ninja Turtle movies were good, but the third one was no good.
Ninja Turtles 3 now. I mean, I think the bubble had burst on Ninja Turtles at that point as well. The audience was. It keeps coming back. I mean, Ninja Turtles is one of those things where it just keeps coming back because I
Yeah.
bought my kids load of Ninja Turtle stuff a few Christmases ago because all of a sudden they got into it, and it was nice because it's something I can actually understand and talk to them about. Because I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I know all these characters. Yeah, I could definitely talk to you about this. So they come back around, and yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of them things. They're it's not just video. Well, it's the remakes in Hollywood right now. Some of them are so bad.
Hollywood's run out of ideas. Okay, let's go
We're
there.
we're at that point now where we're remaking video game movies as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've had remakes of the Resident Evil video game. We've got a remake of Super Mario. Has got another movie coming out next year with, I believe, Jack Black is Bowser and Chris Pratt is Mario.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Is that
no.
live action?
Yeah,
That's
no,
live
no,
action?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're going to go the Sonic route where some of the characters are CG and some are live action, or if it's a full CG movie. I don't know.
It's
But
like,
yeah,
do you
it's
see what Dan put down here? There's 3
Ah,
turtle
it's my
projects
brother.
being worked on.
What's up, buddy?
There's 3 what? Sorry.
3
Ninja
turtle
Turtle
projects being worked on.
Oh, I can believe
Nice.
it. I can believe it. It just keeps coming back. For what it grabs new generations every time. So it'll come back in a different form, and it goes and it comes back.
Teenage Mutant
Was-
Ninja Turtles. Donatello tries mushroom pizza.
It was nice to see Bebop and Rocksteady in the last one.
It was good to see Bebop and Rocksteady because, I mean, again, we were what? We were 6 movies in at that point. It was their first appearance. And
Now, that's
We
what-
thought we were gonna get that in the second one, but we got Toka and Razor, and I never heard of them when they came out.
Well, that's one of these weird things that these film companies do, and you can definitely see it with superhero movies, where some executive, they're like, right, okay, we're going to make a Turtles movie, and then you can hear Bebop and Rocksteady have been sort of pitched, and they've gone, no, we want something different, we want a different name, we want a different. So you get these weird sort of sub characters turn up, and you're like, why? Who's this guy? And they did that with the Ninja Turtles, where again, Tucker and Razor, who the fuck are these? Where's Bebop and Rocksteady? No,
Right?
Krang. Where's Krang during all this?
What?
Like, where?
We haven't
Where's
had Krang yet. I think
See?
he was in one of the cartoon ones, but
He was in the one with Bebop and Rocksteady. Krang was in that one. But
See,
yeah,
but
the
I think-
first 3 movies, no Krang.
What I think you got to do is you got to get a hold of Warner Brothers. You want to jumpstart the video games. You got to get a hold of Warner Brothers and introduce a game kind of like Duck Hunt, but you get to select which one of the Warner's cartoons you get to go hunting after and shoot.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
Me personally, give me an Uzi and the Chipmunks.
I can tell you from
I have a
experience,
have a good day.
I had to deal with Warner Brothers through work, and they were the hardest company I've ever had to deal with. When it comes to how defensive they are over their properties, it's ridiculous. It's next
Really?
level. Yeah, it was for DC characters on the project I was working on, and they sent me through a book of the do's and don'ts. And it's called, the cute thing about it is it's called Star Labs. So this book turns up and it looks like it's got the emblem of the Flash Star Labs on the front of it.
Oh,
But
that's
then
cool.
I knew it was going to be a rough ride when I opened the front page, and it was instructions on how to take pictures of stuff. And I'm thinking, oh shit! It's like,
What?
it was telling you it was telling you exactly what angle the camera has to be at when you send them a picture of a sample. And I was like, oh, and then you get all
Yeah,
these
that's
things come
brutal.
through, and they're like, you can't use this character if you're using this character, and you can't do this if you're doing this. And it's like, man, and there was a hell of a lot. And there's some really weird ones as well, like the Joker, for example. You can't refer to the Joker as Joker. That movie's called Joker, but they have got no copyright over the name Joker, but they have got copyright over the name The Joker. So when we were naming the product that we'd named Joker, they were like, no, you can't do that. And we'd already had the packaging made at this point. We were like, what do you mean? And they're like, it's got to be The Joker. I'm like, but that sounds weird. And they were like, nope, it has to be. And we're like, fucking hell. So the Riddler has to be The Riddler. It can't be Riddler. Joker has to be The Joker. It can't just be Joker. You're like, Jesus. And
That's kind of dumb.
Killing me, man. It was everything about it. There was. You know what? I'll show you. Hold on. Let me
Only
change
thing
my screen.
I've got to say to it is, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
I'm sorry. My personal favorite was Jim Carrey as the Joker.
He was the Riddler.
So
the
I can show
Riddler.
you
Yeah,
this.
sorry.
I do love Jim Carrey though.
So this
that's
is
sick.
Oh, that's cool.
So this is one of the helmets we made, right? So
Shit.
all of the hair, they told us we had to change because it never looked like this originally. But they were told, right, all that's got to go. And we're like, mm-hmm. So we're like, was there anything else you want to change? Nope. We're like, okay, so I just changed the hair and we're good. Yep. So then they come back and they say, right, the teeth have got too much blood on them. So we had to remove all the blood from the teeth. So there's still some blood around here and here. And we were like, is that it? Is that the only thing you want us to change? And they were like, yep. So we go back into production. There used to be, along here, there were pictures of a funhouse scene and things like that. And there was Batman as like the entrance to a funhouse. They're like, you got to remove all that. And I'm like, you're killing me with this. I'm like, I really wish you just rather tell me in one hit everything that's got to be changed than keep changing it every single time we do one.
Actually, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Pick that back up for a second. Now, take a look at that. Minus the nose ring thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
That reminds me of Bray Wyatt's most recent character, the Fiend.
Oh, the Fiend.
Fiend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this were, I mean, again, this is a production sample, so this wasn't the finished one, but even there's a little label in here with the Batman logo on. I had to change that 12 times. 12 times I had to change this little label.
Oh
12
my
times.
God.
To the point where I'm
People
like,
are
I don't ever.
sticklers.
Right. To literally the day before launch. So the day before, so we're good to go. So we've made all the promotional videos, we've done everything for it, and we're about to launch the thing. And they say, you've got to change it. And we're like, we're launching tomorrow. And they're like, you've got to change it. And I'm like, shh. So we had to pull the plug on the launch. It cost us thousands. We had to pull the plug and go again. And then funnily enough, this is last year all this happened. Then funnily enough, there's a company that make sneakers, like bespoke sneakers, called Aikido. And they were releasing ones with the Joker on it. And I'm thinking, I bet they're going through the same shit I went through right now. And the day before they launched, Aikido put this thing out, said, we're sorry there's been a delay. And I'm like, they are.
They are. I know what that's all about.
I've lived that life.
Wow. It's like they just do it to mess with people.
Well, this was what was crazy as well, right? And again, it's these things you don't notice until you notice them, because we had this thing with how we were going to sell it. So we wanted the Batmobile. Yeah. And they were like, okay, well, what do you want? And we're like, well, we found the 89 Batmobile. So the one from the Tim Burton movie. And we're like, we want that. And we're going to have that chasing guys on bikes wearing the Joker helmet. And they said, nope, And we said, well, why not? And they said, because who are you going to cast as Batman? We're like, some stunt driver. Is it? Does it matter? He's not going to deliver any dialogue. We're like, you're not even going to see him. He's going to be in the car. And they were like, can't do it. I'm like, okay, why not? And they're like, because that car is not currently canon, so you can't use that Batmobile. And we're like, right. So which one was canon? The one that was canon at the time was the one from whatever he was driving in Justice League. And we were like, but that one's shit. And they were like, well, we ain't doing it then. But they stopped us from doing anything we wanted to do. They stopped us from doing, and we were like, we're trying to sell your product. So you're killing us here. So it was they were.
Had it been me, what I would have done is gone back and hunted up the ghost of Adam West and that 1950s Batmobile, and said, okay, you know what? As long as this is now public domain, kiss my ass. We're going to use this one.
Do you know what? It was getting to that point where I thought, and it was so sad because I was like hyped to be working with DC. Was like this. I was, oh man, this is amazing. I got put in this project, and then that soured so quick, man. Honestly, it took about 2 weeks where I was like, I am hating every minute of this. And
all the red tape.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is.
Well, and Dan just said, posted a thing down here about Disney merging with
What's up, Joker?
Yeah, that'll get interesting.
Who are Disney merging with?
Discovery.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. Now, or Warner with Discovery.
With Discovery.
No, I was thinking the other one I was going to bring up, which is the one half the people were like yes, the other half of the people were like no. Was when Disney merged with Star Wars.
Oh shit! Yeah, I remember that.
See, Disney's merge with Marvel was a hard one for me because I've been a Marvel fan my whole life, and when I read that they'd signed the contract with Disney, I was like, did all my heroes just die? That was kind of what I felt.
Well, like, that's the thing. That's the thing. Think about that. Think about the portrayal of Iron Man, for the last little bit. Okay. Mm-hmm. Robert Downey Jr. is a fantastic Iron Man,
Yeah.
But let's be honest, his portrayal isn't exactly PG all the time. No. So what do you end up with? Okay, well now when you're in trouble, you get the little green guy calling you up, going, "Fucked up, you did."
Well, this is the thing. They have this conundrum now as well, where they've got the Deadpool movies, which made a shit ton of money before that deal with Fox took place, and it's a case of, well, what are you going to do? Because people obviously want more of them, but you're Disney. Can you be putting this product out as a Disney product?
Yeah.
And it's difficult for them. It's the same with kind of the Netflix shows. So Daredevil was a lot darker. The Punisher was a lot darker. And it's like, what are you going to do? How are you going to approach this? You either wipe it and water it down, which is going to lose the market for it, or you kind of embrace it. Now, my thing is, I think, and I tried to explain this to my little boy the same way. I said, a lot of what these companies don't do is realize that their audience has aged. So if you were 10 when you watched The Avengers, you're 21 now. So it would make sense that you age some of the material to go with it to match your audience. So if you've had someone that's been watching this for 11 years, you've got people that are in their 20s now that were kids when they started watching it. So you're not doing that much harm to say, okay, well, here's something for you. But at the meantime, we've got this other stuff for the kind of the people over here.
Right.
And that's I think they need to address that.
Yeah. Well, and I'll give you a funny one. They've already announced it's going to be rated R. It doesn't surprise me. That does not surprise me. One of the ones, and this I always got a giggle out of this. When my son was little, he was big into Thomas the Tank Engine.
What's up, Randy?
It's a huge thing for kids. It's positive. It's great. But do you know they've had 2 Thomas the Tank Engine movies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know who the narrators were for the 2 movies?
Wasn't one of them Peter Fonda?
No. The first one was oh, Jesus Christ. I cannot believe I just did this. It's a comedian. Hold that thought. Cannot believe.
I want to say George Carlin.
George Carlin. Thank you.
He played Mr. Conductor on Shining Time Station.
Yeah. So yeah, George Carlin. Now, if you've ever listened to any of George Carlin's stand-up,
Yeah.
he is
Oh,
about
yeah.
the farthest away from stuff you want the kids onto.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Now, number two, and thank you for saving my ass again, Chris. Hate that when you get older and you get a word up
Right?
here and you can't get it from here to here.
Can't get it out.
The number two was Alec Baldwin,
Oh shit.
who everybody remembers from what he did and the the voicemails from his kid.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, so this is a really positive, this is a really good thing, and look at the two guys you picked. Now, to their credit, both of them did an incredible job. George Carlin was an amazing conductor. He was hysterical. He was great, and he was perfect for kids.
Yeah.
Alec also did a very good job. So it's kind of funny how they'll pull stuff like that.
See, ours is very different. So in the UK, we have different voices for the trains that are in America and Canada. So we'll have British actors that are narrating these things. I mean, it's different with the one movie where Alec Baldwin plays there's one where it's almost live action. I think that Alec Baldwin's in ads. Yeah. That
and
one
George Carlin's the same way.
Oh, did he really as well? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
We have in the actual the cartoon version of it. We have British
different.
voice over here.
Yeah.
Now, I bizarrely, this is true. This predates internet, which shows kind of the good things of the internet. I nearly got in a fight in a bar in America years ago over the show Fraggle Rock. Right? This is totally true, right? And it was because there was an American that was swearing blind. That the start of Fraggle Rock, it would start in a science lab, and it would go through a crack in the floor, and you'd go through to Fraggle Rock. And I'm like, "You're talking shit, mate. It started in a lighthouse." And he was like, "No, it started in a science lab." And I'm like, "No, it started in a fucking lighthouse." So me and him are having this back and forth. I'm like, "I watched that goddamn show every single day when I was a kid. It started in a lighthouse." And me and him are backwards and forwards to the point where it is going to come to blows. It's at this point. A French guy chimes in and says, "You're both wrong. It was in a bakery." I'm like, the fuck is this guy? This diffuses what we're doing because we're like, right, he's our enemy now because we know. We're like, I know it. I know it definitely wasn't a bakery. Turns out that show, depending on what country it's shown in, has a different wraparound at the beginning.
Yeah.
So if you watch it in the UK, they film a British version of it that is set in a lighthouse. So Fraggle Rock begins in a lighthouse in Britain. In America, you got the science lab, but in France, it's set in a bakery, bizarrely. So those wraparound scenes are all different. I was like, what the fuck?
What
the YouTube solved the YouTube and the internet solved that argument immediately. Right? Whereas before then, you're like, with two guys convinced the other one's wrong when you're both right, but you're both equally wrong. It's like,
it
was insane.
There's another example of differences in movies.
Sorry, Cataclysm. We just kind of got off the gaming for a little bit.
We're coming right back there.
Yeah, we'll be back in a minute. We'll be back after these messages.
In Captain America in the Marvel movie, when you see Steve Rogers, he's running around the big pool in Washington with Falcon, and like he's just lapping Falcon. But anyways, at the end, Falcon suggests something. For his list, and he says, "I'll put it on the list." The list in America is different than the list in Canada. It's different than the list in the UK. I don't know if you guys knew that, but
I didn't know that.
The lists are all different.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Which is cool.
Speaking of differences, bringing us back to video games, we have one of the most recent ones. Our censorship over here is normally fairly liberal with things, but if you can remember a South Park game that came out a few years ago called
the Toxic Butthole or something.
It was the Stick of Truth. It was the one before the Fractured Butthole. It was the Fractured
Butthole was the other one.
Now there's a scene in that where Randy gets anal probed.
Oh shit.
Where no matter what choice you make, it's like you have to get him out of this kind of situation where this big probe is coming towards him. But no matter what choice you make, he ends up getting probed. That's the gag. Whereas in Europe, they were like, "You ain't doing it." So when you get to that part of the game, this thing comes up on the screen, and they've actually made it really funny, where they're giving all the reasons, and it breaks down the scene to you instead. So they're like, we're not cutting out, and we can't change the game. So you just get this description instead, and at the bottom it says, so even though we've described the whole thing to you, and it's probably far worse than it was in your head than it is on screen, you can't see it on screen, and it's like,
oh, jeez.
so we would
That is
get
sweet,
weird
Donna.
censorship. We get weird censorship of video games over here. It's really strange, but fortunately, it's not anywhere near as extreme as it used to be. We would have games that would outright be banned, and we would have ones that never saw the light of day. And Grand Theft Auto is one of them. We need to address Grand Theft Auto. I remember when Grand Theft Auto first came out, the very first ones on the original PS ones were top-down games. They weren't like what they are now. It was top-down, and they weren't great. So there was Grand Theft Auto, then there was Grand Theft Auto 2, and there was also a weird kind of add-on disc, which was Grand Theft Auto London 69, I think it was. You'd have to load up the one disc and swap it out, and it would just change everything to London of the 60s. And no matter what you did, you'd get arrested in Grand Theft Auto. Like, you could bump something, that's it, the cops were on you. And they were okay, but I don't think anyone really embraced them. It wasn't until Grand Theft Auto 3 that was insane. That was the first game I bought on the PS2. Now, I knew nothing about it at that point. I'd gone in to buy the PS2, and that had just been released. It was that, and I can't remember. There was one other game that came out at the time, and I could get a free game on the deal that this shop had, and I'm like, and I thought, do I really want Grand Theft Auto? And the guy went, oh, it's not like the old one, you'll like it. And I'm like, I got it. I'm like, damn. And that was blew my mind. Grand Theft Auto 3 was incredible. As video games go, I mean, it was a massive step forwards for games. And it was nuts. I mean, you play it now, it's not aged well at all. Because I mean, you notice there's only like 5 or 6 different characters in the game. All the pedestrians look the same. There's no motorbikes in it. You can't fly. You don't go in the water. It's got a fairly small play area. The missions are really short. But I remember them fondly, and I think that's part of retro gaming as well. You really have to make a decision on whether or not to go back, because sometimes you remember a game being a lot better than it actually was. And Grand Theft Auto, the older ones, haven't aged particularly well.
No.
So you go back to them, and it damages your memory. So sometimes it's best to leave well alone and remember the kind of fun you had on it. And like, you know what? I loved it. Because you go back and you're like, I don't remember the graphics being this bad, or I don't remember the controls being this heavy. And sometimes you should leave well enough alone. And Grand Theft Auto is a good example of those. Now, I love the Grand Theft Auto games, and I've played the shit out of all of them. I'm not into Grand Theft Auto Online. I know a lot of people are.
It is. It's something.
It's huge, isn't it? I mean, this is the thing. It's a beast.
It's not even that. I had mentioned earlier when we were talking about Call of Duty and how my son was telling us how toxic that is. Grand Theft Auto is every bit as toxic, if not worse.
Well, the nature of the game is going to attract that, isn't it? I mean, this is the thing. It's like if you ever played Everybody's Golf online, everyone's lovely because you just used a bunch of people playing golf. Whereas if you're playing a game where the main aim of it is, kill, steal, rob.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. My son's worked his way up where he's got one of those fast-moving tanks.
Right.
And this guy, I don't know what the deal was. He says he'd never seen him before, didn't know the first thing about him, kept coming after him with anything and everything. My boy's doing the best he can to ignore him. And finally just had enough and said, okay, here we go. Got his tank out. And I could just hear the guy in the car because he's following the guy. And it's another one of those ones where I'm just laughing my ass off. He's following the guy all over the place. The guy runs through, a gateway. He runs over the fence. He runs down through, my boy's running over the cars. And I could just hear him going, Mommy! As he's driving away, trying to get away from him. I'm like, dude, that'll teach you. You never know who you're going to get into. Before we got into this, I went in because I was about to lose my my shield, my peace shield on my station on Star Trek. And there's a group that our alliance has had a ceasefire with for about a week now. They're just nasty. These other guys in general. And I'd had the opportunity as a mid-level character to go in and hit some of the lower level or lower mid-level guys, and could have done it legally following the rules of engagement, and didn't, because I was honoring our ceasefire. And I log in this afternoon, and I knew I was a little late for my shield to still be there. And sure enough, here's one of the guys from that group, just getting into his 5th hit, where he'd gotten past my defenses and was starting to take stuff. So first thing I did was activate a shield, start repairing the damage and everything. And I'm looking back through all the damage, just sent out to him. I said, well, I guess you realize that, you have expanded my dinner menu now. We had a ceasefire, but I'd like to thank you. I can now move on and have an expanded section of my menu that I've avoided for the last week because I was trying to be a vegetarian. So
you gotta eat.
when I start snarfing down on those little burgers of yours, and they're asking me why I'm attacking, I'm going to give them your name and tell them, you opened up the bar. Thank you very much. And he's like, and I'm like, no. Thank you very much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And it's it's smack talk, but it's fun. Like that, when my wife and I met playing Ebony, she used to have guys come over and attack her, and she'd be smack talking them back. Did you bring lube? Did you bring a condom this time? Did that hurt? Oh, and it's just she would get so riled up. It was hysterical. They'd throw everything at him and wouldn't realize that I'm sitting there waiting. And, then they've killed off most of their troops, and all of a sudden, bam, I hit them and start cycling stuff that they've stolen, plus back to her, giving her stuff.
And that's the evolution of video games as well. I mean, the fact that we've got to this point now where you can do that. I mean, the strategy on games now is nuts compared to what it used to be.
Yeah.
You can, offline, you're talking to people about, right, this is what we're going to do. You're taking down whole crews. And it's incredible.
It's amazing. State of survival, which is a Facebook game. We're in with a group there that uses Discord. And with Star Trek, we're the group that I'm in with that uses Discord. So I'm sitting there, during raids and whatnot, got the headset on. And we're chatting back and forth. Okay, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go over there. Wham! And you're right. It's totally different. Instead of everybody being in the room together, now we can chat online.
We've come such a long way since come such a long way since Pong. I mean, this is the reality.
For sure.
It's ridiculous in such a short period of time.
Yep.
That it's insane where we are, and it makes me wonder what is going to be the future. Where we're going next.
VR, I think, is what we're going to see next. You talked about this gigantic cabinet that you saw where you got 8 people into it. I have this feeling the next thing we're going to see is cabinets that you go into where you put on a VR helmet. Now, how the hell they're going to do this without us killing ourselves running into walls and shit, I don't know.
I mean, it's like I damn near broke my hand. I've got a PSVR, and I've nearly broke my hand on the wall more than once. Where I've been playing shit. Do you know what as well, right? One thing that I couldn't. This is me showing my age, right? There was one game I had on the VR that I just couldn't. The maximum session I could do was about 20 minutes because it was too intense. It was Resident Evil 7, I believe, and you can play it in VR, and it's just too much, man. It's just too much. It's too extreme. It's too, and I'm like, I'm too old for this shit, man. I can't. These things are getting up in my face and come through walls with chainsaws and shit. And the thing with VR is you're in the room, no matter where you look or move, you're there, and there's no getting away from it. And it's a lot. And I think that's my issue with VR. I love the VR. I think it's fantastic. I really do. And I've seen some amazing uses of it. Unfortunately, the bulk of use at the moment is almost exclusively reserved for horror and jump scares. Stuff that's going to scare the living shit out of you. And it's like, that's not fun. right? It's like it's good to have a jump scare every once in a while, but there's no enjoyment in that. Where I've seen others that have used the medium to give kind of joy, where you're thinking, wow, this is incredible. There's a great game on the PSVR called Moss, which is a very strange game. It's almost like a platform game, and it features a mouse. So you move a mouse around this area, and it's like a fantasy thing. It's like a really shrunk down version of Lord of the Rings. But the cool thing with it is you're playing as kind of just an observer of the mouse. So when it goes behind something, you're used to playing kind of 2D games, and you're thinking, well, I can't see them. But now you can get over the play area and look down, and you can see where the mouse is, and you're moving around in this area, and you pick him up and move him to. It's fantastic. It really is. I mean, things like that are incredible, good experiences. But there are, I mean, the bulk of VR experiences is just things designed to scare the shit out of you. I'm not enjoying this.
Yeah, and to talk about that, you know, my son has one that he got me in. I can't play it. Period. Is Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
I sat.
Is that one in VR?
It's not VR, but I swear to God, they're going to make it VR.
Which would be horrifying.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I see CJ play that one all the time. Dead by Daylight.
The one thing I got that I laughed at about Dead by Daylight is for those of us again who are older, if you saw the movie Johnny Dangerously, you know, the one thing, and my son never got it, was when he got picked up and the guy's carrying him over his shoulder until he gets to the point where he turns around and sticks him through the chest. Yep. I looked at my son and I said, my father hung me on a hook once. And he just looked at me and he didn't get it, you know. But anybody who's seen that movie, who's from us, will understand that. And it made me laugh. And he's like, "It's not funny." And I went, "Yeah, it is." And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." You know. So
it's like they did a tech demo on the PSVR of Spider-Man. But when Spider-Man Homecoming came out, and even that is terrifying. I remember my little boy doing it for the first time. Now I'd already played it in Texas. I've been to Texas, and I thought I've got to get one of these. When I came home and I bought one, I knew what was coming. So at the end of this, at the start of the tech demo, you get to do very cool things. Like you pick the mask up and you put it on, and you can pose in the mirror as Spider-Man, and the kids were getting a kick out of it. But at the very end of it, you zip up to like a crane. So you're about 200 feet in the air. And I watched my kid's legs go to jelly as he stands on this crane. I just watched him, and I'm holding him going, "You're fine." And I had to keep saying to him, "You're at home, you're fine, you're safe. If you don't like it, just take the helmet off." But I watched his legs just completely go, and I was like, "Oh man!" It's an exhilarating experience. But if you're scared of heights, it's fucking terrifying because you are standing so high up. It feels like you're there.
This is weird, but it's funny you say that. I can go up on a ladder and clean the gutters out. I can go up on the roof and take care of that. No problem whatsoever. I was a field tech for a while. I could gaff up a pole, and that's the spikes you put on the ends of your boots, and you climb up a telephone pole. No problem at all. I'm cool. I get into a video game where I start building stuff up, and I'm walking along the edge, of stuff, and I'm looking down over the edge, and I'm going, "Fuck, that's a long way down there." That's the only time I get scared of heights, and I've literally had times where I've had to come down and just stop.
There's a game called Blood and Truth on the PSVR as well, where there's a scene where you climb the outside of a building and you use the wands, so you have to squeeze the handle to grab the next kind of handhold. And I'm doing this for a while, and I've not looked behind or down, and then kind of it dawns on me, whereas I'm climbing a building here, and it was at that point where I sort of looked back and think, holy shit! And it does just the trick of the mind, where everywhere around you, you're thinking, I am hanging off the edge of a fucking building. And it's kind of terrifying because your brain is telling you this is what's happening. Whereas as much as you're going, no, we're good, you break all the receptors of your brain are going, we are hanging off the edge of a building right now, and this is terrifying.
Don't fuck up, you're dead.
Yeah, the coolest
Right?
thing on that game, the coolest kind of use I saw on it, and I thought that's quite clever, is there's a microphone inside the PSVR.
Yeah.
So you can smoke. You can pick up cigars, and when you make you can see the end of the cigar burn down, and when you exhale, the microphone picks up and the smoke will come out. And it's things like that.
That's cool.
That's just a nifty trick. There's a lot of cool little things like that in there. And I'm thinking, yeah, more of that. I'd like to see more of those kind of cool little things they put in, rather than now here's something that's going to terrify you. Because even in that game, even in Blood and Truth, which is kind of like a heist game, so there's a lot of shootouts and things like that, and it's fun. Even that game still manages to throw in a bit where you're in the pitch black and something jumps out at you. You're like, why? Why? This isn't that game. This isn't a horror game. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And it's yeah, I do. I mean, I do love a horror game. This is the thing as well. I do. But again, this is pathetic. But the older I get, the less I can play them, because I'm just like, I can't take them anymore, man. They freak me out too much. And I'm like, but I used to just inhale those games. Like Resident Evil 2 is still one of my favorite games of all time. I think it's close to flawless. It's a fantastic game, and it is clunky now. It doesn't. You go back and look at that one, and you're thinking, okay. But I remember playing it and just thinking, this is the game. This is the ultimate. And that there were scenes in that were genuinely friggin' terrifying. Things would just come smashing through the wall you weren't expecting. Jump at your skin when it happens, because that thing goes from silent to very loud very quickly.
Oh yeah,
come out of nowhere.
The stuff I would hear come out of Nicholas's mouth, playing the Dead by Daylight. It's like it's all of a sudden you everything's quiet in the house and you hear and I'm like, what the hell?
What the hell are you doing over there?
The door up and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, shh, and I'm like, it's a game. They can't hear you. He's like, yeah, they can. I get my headset on. And I'm like, whatever, but all kinds of stuff you hear, and it's not VR, but it's like, it's almost like it. Donna's posted up here. She's talking about her son plays the Dead by Daylight and Resident Evil. Donna, I'm curious, does he make weird noises? Do you hear weird stuff going on with that? Because I tell you, some of the stuff I miss having him in the house for hearing all the crazy noises. I wish I had recorded it, because for one thing, I could have made a mint on America's favorite funniest home videos. So that was my problem with the VR Resident Evil. Was the thing that would chill my blood, that would slow my heart, is when I'd hear something and it was behind me. Right? If it was coming from the front, I'd be like, all right. But when I'd hear something, I'd think, and you got to turn around, you think, I really don't want to turn around. I know you're behind me. And it would just be, it's the worst sensation. I think, I can't do it. And that was me 15, 20 minutes. I'm like, I'm out. I can't do any more of this. Let's be done for the evening. Yeah, it was that. It's behind me. Yeah, and you'd be like, oh, no. There's a girl in it who kind of giggles. And you think, oh, shit. And there's a scene in it where I'm thinking, right, I'm ready for you. I got my guns out. I'm thinking, I'm going to spin around and fire. I spin around and fire, and she's not there. And I'm like, where are you then? And I'm thinking, shit. And you look up, and she's up in the rafters, jumped down, and you're like,
oh, fuck.
It's just the worst.
Yeah, no.
This is what I mean. Every time that you'd be playing it, just a hand would come in front of your face. Like, Jesus.
Wow.
I can't do it. It's too much.
No.
It's just too much.
Coronary.
I'm going to sign off and play some Tetris now.
Yeah. Pong. Here we go.
See, and again, that's the amazing one as well. For ones that were gorgeous, there is a VR version of Tetris. And I'm thinking, well, how is this ever going to work? And the way it works is the more Tetris that you make, the more lines that you build, the more starts going on in the screen around you. So you've got this music playing, and the music goes in line with it. So the more kind of matches and lines you build, the more the music sort of builds up into a crescendo, and you get all these lights going. And it's amazing to play. It's a very bizarre experience, but the most unique version of Tetris I've ever played it's insane. But if you ever get a chance to play VR Tetris, it's nuts. Because you think, well, how do you turn that into a VR experience? It's Tetris. But it is amazing. So all of this, the music builds up, and then all the animations going on around it starts getting. So the closer you get to the top, the more sort of hectic it gets. And then when you're doing well, it sort of chills and it's calm, and it's a bizarre experience, but it's a great one. It really is.
See, my luck, I'd get the Jaws version, you know. Dun 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 dun.
The Jaws version.
See, that's again. This is. There's a game called Astrobot on the VR as well, which is a hell of a game. It's like it plays like a Mario game, but the bosses on it again are kind of. This is what I kind of like about the VR and what I hate about it. What I hate about the VR is when they go claustrophobic, and I think it's missing the point. So you end up in some little room somewhere, and you're trapped in there. Whereas the best VR ones have embraced the fact that okay, we can do an open world. And if you can stand somewhere where everywhere you look around you, you can just see for miles, it's an incredible experience in a VR. Yep. And the bosses on Astrobot tend to do that. So there's a boss in Astrobot where you fight a shark, and you see him coming from the distance. It's like a robot shark, but you're playing on a raft. So everywhere you look is oceans. You're out in the deepest part of the ocean. It's an incredible experience because you're like, all I can see is ocean. It's incredible, and you feel
nowhere to go.
The world. Yeah, you feel the expanse of the world, and you feel tiny. You feel tiny in a huge world, whereas a lot of the VR games do the opposite. They make you feel huge in a tiny world, and I think that's missing the point. I want a sprawling kind of. I'd like to see games like a Tomb Raider or even a Grand Theft Auto where I can stand there and look up at skyscrapers and like I'm small in a giant world. That's how
What's up, Wicked?
I don't want to feel huge in a tiny world, you know.
Zelda would be a cool game in VR.
Yeah. BioShock. I mean, I don't know if you played the BioShock games, but as the kind of horror games go, I think that finds a good blend because it's not terrifying by any means, but the style of it, that kind of Art Deco and the storyline of BioShock, I think is great. If I could play that in VR, be all over it. I think that'd be an amazing experience. And that's kind of what I want. So it depends where they go with VR. They need to improve the movement of it. We need to get that right so you can sort of move and run and I think once they've nailed that, I think we're there. I think it'll be good. I never want to put one of those suits on. It's not going to look good on me.
And that's like I'm gonna look any better, you know. Oh look, we finally found the great white.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not going to look good at that. I'm going to look like a rubber glove filled with porridge. It's not a good look for me, man.
That's all right. I'll be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man for you.
I don't want to have
the Michelin or the Michelin Man. So
the Michelin Man. There you go.
My thing is I'm gonna run. I'll get going and I'll run into a wall and knock myself the fuck out. You know? I got this feeling. So,
I mean, I was playing it was Rocky, Creed, which again is an experience in itself. So you can fight, and it's very realistic when it comes to boxing. But again, it does mean I'm standing in my front room swinging punches. So I connected with the wall more than once, and I'm like, damn. And it's and for a guy like me that could do a drop in a couple of pounds, games like that are pretty good. I mean, if I can get into a workout whilst I'm playing a video game,
that's how you get your exercise. You know,
there's a weird mechanism on it when you're sort of fighting as normal. So you get in this close, you can kind of feel the guy right there, and you're hitting at them. The things that are missing from VR is you don't feel the punches land. So I think if there was some resistance that could be given, I think that would be good. The other thing as well, this is what I said about movement. To move around the ring in Rocky, you have to do this move. So you get to where you are. To move across the ring, you do this, and it makes you run, and it just takes you out of the moment. That you're doing this weird shit to run across the ring is strange, and then it's a weird thing. If you get knocked down, to get back up, you sort of get rocked. You have to put your hands in the position. So these two flashes will appear on the screen. If you manage to line them up with your hands, you'll stay up on your feet. And getting up is kind of odd as well. You're doing this shit, and it's again, if they can get the movement right, where to get up, you get up, I think would be good. And it's we're a ways off it. I think we're still very much in the infancy, but I would imagine 20 years from now, that shit's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's very early with it.
I don't know. I got one thing to say about that, and that's this. You know, you talk about having some resistance or something else. All right. Follow with me for a minute here. So originally we had, the joystick, and then we went to, the flight yoke, where you could, and then you went to the car, and we've gone to a number. Don't even get me started on the Wii. How many different things you had there? Okay, and we've got the consoles for the tank and everything else. All right, so here's my thing.
Some cheesecake.
What is your game accessory going to be for Rocky? Okay, your game accessory is going to be the stick figure that stands in front of you, that's got 2 gloves on. Okay, that you're hitting, that hits you back. Okay,
It hits you back. There you go.
I'm sorry, I have to draw the line there. If I want to get knocked out, I'll piss off the wife. That's as realistic as it gets for me. That's all I need.
Yeah,
I don't need some piece of plastic going.
What's up, cheesecake?
Mine now, clown.
I don't want to. I don't want to take the hits. By resistance, I want to. What I mean by it is, like, when you throw the punch, I want to feel where it's landed. Whereas instead, if you throw it, you can see it's landed on the screen, but your arm's gone all the way over here.
Yeah, no,
so
I get
it's that kind of. Yeah. If there was if they could make it shake or thud or vibrate where you can, that would be good. I mean, I saw one that I thought that's badass. Was a
Hey, cheesecake.
It was a peripheral for a Star Wars VR, where they had, it was almost like a gyroscope inside the handle. So if you turned it, it would come back up. So when you were using a lightsaber, you could feel resistance to it. I'm like, I like that shit.
That's cool.
And it also it made the controls when you're doing the hover, whatever the fuck, or the ships, you could feel when you're in the gravity of a planet, you could feel, as you were going around.
And that's, again, one of the most impressive things I've ever seen on a video game, going right back to Metal Gear Solid, was if you had a rumble pad, which was weird for PS1, that wasn't common. They didn't come as standard. You could buy them as kind of an aftermarket thing. But there was a level boss on Metal Gear called Psycho Mantis that was really clever because he could read your mind, and the way it worked, you couldn't land a hit on him. And the way you beat him was you'd have to unplug your controller from port 1 and plug it into port 2, and he could no longer read your mind, so he couldn't preempt your strikes. But before he did that, he would do this thing where he'd say he could read your memories. And he would tell you what saves you had on your memory card. So if you had any Konami games saved, he would say the name of, you've been playing Ace Combat, and he'd name them, and you'd be like, shit. And then the best one that he did was, if you had the rumble pad, he'd tell you to put the rumble pad down, and he'd say, now we go left, and it would rumble, and the pad would move left across the ground. He'd go, now we go right, and it would rumble and move. And you'd be like, this is nuts. And that's one of the best things I've seen on a video game. And it's not been replicated in years. And yeah, that was incredible. Watching that shit, all of a sudden, it's like it's breaking the fourth wall, and it's telling you what's on your memory card, and you got to switch out. I think it was incredible. It really was.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And it probably won't be, because you've got such things now with different viruses and things like that. People won't dabble with that anymore because they think that oh shit, somebody's taking over. But yeah, that's some of the stuff we went through. As video games developed, some of the things that developed with us, with them.
I like
they won't be replicated, because it's a snapshot. It's a snapshot in time of the development from nothing to what we have now.
Yeah.
And this is, there've been some, there are things that I've seen in the early days of a console. There'll be some feature that it can do, and everyone puts it into a game, and then it gets forgotten about fairly quickly. Like, I can remember a big selling point of the PS3 was that you could put your own face in video games. So the first ones that came out, all of them were like, yeah, you can, and then after about 6 months, everyone's like, screw it, drop that feature, we're not putting it in anymore. And the PS3 as well had a resistance controller, so it was the thing where you could move, but again, most game developers just abandon that really early on. Go, don't bother, and it gets stripped out. And I think that's kind of lazy programming in a lot of cases.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's annoying. So when you see things like the Psychomantis effect, you're thinking more developers could do this, but it's obviously too much work.
Yep.
But
well, it's the difference. It's the difference between somebody who's doing it to make money and somebody who's doing it who's an artiste. You know, you get those guys that go, you know what, I'm gonna kick it up a notch because that's what I like. That's what I like. That's gonna make everybody remember me. You know, and then you get these other guys that are like, screw it, I'm in it for the bucks. I'm gonna get the
another one I remember that's a standout was it was a Sega Genesis game, and it was the X-Men. And there was a level in that where you defeat the boss of the level, and the game seems like it's crashed, and it just keeps saying to you that you need to reset the system. You're thinking, I ain't pressing reset, because this is back when you press reset, you're back at the beginning of the game. But on this game in particular, if you hit reset at this button, all this sort of binary code came on the screen, and it loaded up sort of the next part of the game. You're like, holy shit, I just pressed reset and it didn't reset the console. I did something different.
Wow.
Right.
Which again, it's a smart thing, and you remember these games because of that. Now, you mentioned that game to anyone, they bring that part up. So why more developers don't think, we will make you remember this fucking game forever by putting this thing in where we'll let you go, oh shit, do you remember when they do that?
Yep.
And there should be more of that.
Yep.
There was a game, I think it was a Final Fantasy game, where you actually had to, in order to beat the boss, you had to unplug the controller from player 1 and plug it into player 2. Otherwise, you would just copy your moves. If you were plugged into player 1, was it Metal Gear? Oh, that's what it was.
That was Psychomantis, yeah. That's Psychomantis. You unplug from 1 to 2.
Hey, check out.
It's just clever.
Check out Cheesecake talking about the schools in San Antonio are teaching coding.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean,
you know.
Yeah.
But that's again a sign of the times. When I went through, they taught us punch cards, and then advanced for us at that time was learning DOS. Yeah. Well, you know, yeah, you see where that is now. You know, and guys, we got to take 2 seconds. We got to take. Cheesecake said, not to change the subject. She just got done watching Titanic movie.
Oh man, welcome to last week, Cheesecake.
I actually watched it last night. It was on TV over here last night, and I watched it. It came on. I'm thinking, I'm in.
Cheesecake.
Let's go.
Cheesecake, catch up.
Shit.
All right, Cheesecake. Here you go. Since you watch movies, your movie assignment for this week is to watch A Fistful of Quarters, The King of Kong, and then you talk to us next week on it. What the hell are we doing next week? Have we even decided on that yet?
Here you go. No, we don't have a topic for next week yet.
Did I just have a moment with him?
No, I was just reading the Commodore 64. You had to put in the run codes. Which I never played Commodore. My buddy had it, but I never played that.
It was. I remember one of the earliest versions of kind of cheat codes on consoles like the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum, the ZX Spectrum, where they were called pokes, and you'd have to type in code. So you'd have to get in and type a load of code, and it would take hours to type these things out. It would give you like 5 lives instead of 3, but it was totally worth it at the time.
Yeah, totally worth it.
Yep.
Bunch of coding before you start.
Strange phrases and whatnot that you had for Warcraft and Starcraft. You know, I am invincible. Yeah, I don't remember what they were now, but yeah, you typed it in, and all of a sudden you couldn't be killed. Yeah.
Right on, Cheesecake.
Let me set up 8 Zerg coming after me, and I'm down here in a lonely little tower, and here comes the wave of shit. Like, hey, you can't get me.
Do you guys know some of the rarest games they have? And again, a lot of the prices of old school console games, especially, they're all jacked up right now because it's like guys like our age that want to get all their toys back, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, let's see.
I know some of the most expensive ones are ones that weren't. It depends what you're looking for, because when you go, I know Nintendo, there were ones that were given out as like prizes.
Nintendo Power.
Entering contests.
That's your what Nintendo World Tour or whatever. They actually did a contest for the gold cartridge and the silver. There's that
those
one.
ones are always going to be. But I mean, I think for the standard collector, if you look at commercial, what was the most expensive kind of commercially released ones? They're normally fairly obscure games. They're ones that just didn't really sell well, so they didn't do a massive run on them. It's from a smaller company.
Yeah.
So you'd get these ones that would appear, and you'd be like, "What is that?" And it's like, there was a documentary on TV over here about a guy that was trying to track down every single NES game. So he planned to buy every single one, and there's not that many. I think there's about 400 or 500, I think. And the ones that he couldn't find weren't the most expensive, but they were just they weren't readily available, because the ones that are expensive, people know they're expensive, so they've kept them well. But when you know something like, say, Chippendale Rescue Rangers 3, there wasn't that many copies of it, so it was things like that were the kind of hard ones to get.
Or you could talk about the ones that really shouldn't have been, like Poop Slinger for PS4.
Right.
Yes, that was really a thing.
One of the rarer ones is I don't know. Did you guys have did you have Blockbuster in the UK?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a UK thing? Okay, it's called Clay Fighter.
Clay Fighter, yeah.
The reason that game is so expensive to get now is because it was a Blockbuster exclusive back in the 90s. The only way to get that game was to have rented it from Blockbuster, and the only way to have it now is if you didn't return it, you kept it or whatever, bought it.
Well, see, that's in Europe. It was readily available. You could buy it in stores in Europe. I think in America, because I mean, it's like American games won't work on European consoles, and vice versa. Yeah. Unless you've got an adapter, it won't work, because we had a different system. I think you had NTSC and we had PAL, or the other way around. So if you tried to play one over here, it wouldn't play. It was the same with VHS cassettes. They wouldn't play. American VHS cassettes wouldn't play on British machines. So Clay Fighter over here was available. You could buy it. But a European Clay Fighter is not going to work in an American machine. It's just not going to load up. So I remember there being a big market over here for Japanese games. You could buy this thing that plugged into your Super Nintendo, and then you plugged the cartridge on top of it. So it was like a cartridge went in, you plugged the cartridge into that cartridge to get the Japanese game to play. So there was like a big market for that. And I remember thinking it was a bit Emperor's New Clothes, because there were very few games that you couldn't get over there that you could get over here. There was, I mean, a weird one was the game Star Fox. So over here, for some reason, it was called Star Wing, whereas I think everywhere else it was called Star Fox. I don't know why it wasn't. There must have been some licensing reason, but over here, versions of that game are called Star Wing. It was never called Star Fox.
Yep.
So it's things like that. So you get these kind of, when you got a hardcore collector of that, they want every version of it they can find. So they want a Star Wing as well as a Star Fox. They want both of those cartridges, because they want all variants that are available. It's a bit like Harry Potter over here. The first Harry Potter book and film is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, whereas I believe in America it's Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yes.
Over here it's Philosopher's Stone. It's always been Philosopher's Stone, and they changed the name for America. I don't know why, but they did. But it's always been Philosopher's Stone over here. So that's the same with the video games. So they made video games of Philosopher's Stone. You've got the British version, the American version. So we have very strange kind of differences in video games. So there were some video games released in America, like Madden games have never sold well in the UK, because we're not big watchers of the NFL. Whereas Madden games in America, I think, are like the number one every year it comes out. Huge. It's going to go to number one. Huge. Whereas over here, no one really gives a shit. It'll be a game that comes out, people are like, they don't care. But versions of soccer, like FIFA and things like that, are fucking huge. They come out over here. People are taking the day off work to play it, and it's massive when that comes out. But Madden doesn't really do anything over here.
Yeah. Well, and then you've got spoofy stuff, like, you remember Space Invaders?
Yeah.
Okay. So, forever and a day, Pepsi and Coke have been fighting back and forth. Well, one of the ones was, and I remember seeing it in a couple of places, but it disappeared like that, was Pepsi Invaders.
Pepsi Invaders?
Right.
So basically what you had was, you had the word Pepsi, coming down your screen, just like the invaders did, and you had to shoot the Pepsi, and if you defeated the screen, it was like Coke wins, and you go on to the next screen. So that's another one. You can actually, if you've got a copy of that, you can make some serious money off that.
It's like the
But
Chex Mex game.
yeah, spoofy stuff like that, where they've got stuff, some of the educational ones that they had speaking of spoofy, Paper Mario is another one.
Paper Mario.
It was Mario, but it was a flat version of Mario. So you had a paper version of Mario running around the screen.
Yeah.
It's strange what I had an emulator for the PS3 that I could play old. I had every Super Nintendo game on an emulator, and you see some of those come up, and you think, bloody hell! And it was every movie had a game. Yeah. So a lot of those games you think probably were only available for 3 or 4 months. They weren't great games, but it would be like games. It would be films like, what was that Alec Baldwin superhero movie? Was it The Shadow? There was a game of that. There was a Wayne's World game. There was a Beavis and Butthead game. Ren and Stimpy had a game.
Wayne's World was bad.
Yeah, Wayne's World was a really bad game. There was a Beavis and Butthead game, a Ren and Stimpy game. There was a bunch of Addams Family games, and there was, it's nuts. I'm trying to see what the most expensive SNES game was.
Did you have one? There was a gaming group called Neo Geo. Was that over there?
I remember Neo Geo.
Neo Geo, I remember the standard for Neo Geo was it was ridiculously expensive. When the Neo Geo first came out, I know the games were in the UK were £100, would be about $140 per game. So no one really bought one. It was like, I can't afford that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
But Neo Geo was a really, really big deal. I mean, the thing that I owned this is a bone of contention between me and my wife still to this day.
Oh no!
When my wife met me, I owned I owned a Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet that had the original artwork on it. I owned one, and I bought it from a video store that went bust. So I walked in, the video store was going bust, and I went in there to buy movies. Was what I'd gone in there for, but they had a for sale sign stuck on this Street Fighter machine, and I said, "How much do you want for it?" And the guy said he wanted £80, right, which is a ridiculously low amount of money. That would be about $110.
Right.
And I was shocked because I'm about to go pulling my wallet out, and he thought that I was kind of playing hardball. He went, "Okay, 60 now, you can take it away." And I'm like,
right?
So I'm like, shit, bam, there you go, right? And so I walk out with this fully working Street Fighter 2 arcade machine, and I had it everywhere. It went with me. And then, ladies, I love you, but when they come into your life, they tend to find something of yours that they hate.
Things change. Yep.
It was right. So, but she had like the backup of my mother. Right, so my mother as well was like, "You're getting older now. What you got that?" And I'm thinking, this is a 2-pronged attack. They're trying to make me get rid of my Street Fighter machine, right? I'm pissed about this. And I'm thinking, fuck's sake. So I eventually agreed to get rid of it, and I sell it for a criminally low price. The price I'm ashamed that I sold it for. Now I made money when I sold it, but I sold it for, I think it was $250. I sold it for, so I made a profit.
Oh yeah,
I was tempted to let it go, and I couldn't buy one for anywhere near that now. I'd need to. It would be 5-10 times that to buy one. But this is what makes it worse. This is what broke my fucking heart, right? So the guy comes around my house to buy this thing. He comes in, and I can see he's a bit of a dick. He doesn't really know, he's a bit of a. There was a weird vibe from him. So he wants to see everything in it. Like, fair enough. So now with the old cabinets, you had a set of keys where you could open the actual the coin thing. And I showed him how that works. I said, right, that's how you do that. At the bottom, you've got the thing that collects the money. I said, but I don't use any of that because this is set to free play. I said, I'm going to show you how you do that. And you turn the machine around and the whole back comes off. So you've got another key, the entire back comes off. It's a massive wooden panel. These things weigh a ton. And inside, the actual game itself is on a large
Board.
like PCB, like a board.
Yeah.
And it has switches. And all the switches do something else. So you'd have switches 1 to 10, and those would set the difficulty. So typically, whenever you'd open the back of a Street Fighter machine, the difficulty would be set on at least 8, 9, or 10, because they want this thing to kick your ass. So you'll put more money in it. It's never easy. And then you'd have the switches that would set the different tariffs. So you could have it where it was on, a quarter a go, or 50 cents, or $1, or you get 3 goes for this, or you could just switch them in a certain sequence that would make it free play. So once I've done that, the back goes back on. There's no reason for me to keep opening the back of this thing.
Yeah.
As I'm showing him how this works, he's looking at the thing that attaches to the back of the screen. Now you have a large sort of chip attached to the screen. And he's saying, "What's this?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "No. I said, "This thing's fragile, man." I said, "It's bordering on antique. So you don't pull around on these things." I said, "Because if you break that, you ain't fixing it." And he was like, "Right, but what is this?" I said, "It's what makes the screen work." I said, "Just that's all you need to know." I said, "It's as it is. You don't need to pull on this stuff." And he was like, "All right, okay." So as I'm showing him the switches, he's still going to pull on this thing, and I'm like, "Dude, honestly, you don't need to do that." I said, "You break it, you bought it." And he's like, "Right, okay."
Yeah.
Put the back on. And he's like, "Can you deliver it to my house?" I'm like, "Sure." So put it in the back of a buddy's van. We drive around there. We deliver it to him. It's with him for, I'd say, half an hour before I get a phone call. The machine ain't working. And I'm like, "You bought it as you..." I said, "You bought it as you saw it. I've never had any problem with it at all. You bought it as you saw it." I said, "If there's something wrong with it, I can't help you." I said, "I'll come and take a look." I said, "I'll come and take a look to see if there's anything wrong with it," right? Because I thought maybe the power cord had come out, whatever. So I go around there, I pull the back off, and sure enough, he'd snapped the chip off. He'd snapped it off. And I said, "What did I tell you?" And he said, "Well," I said, "When we plugged it in and left, this was working." I said, "You couldn't help yourself, could you?" And he was like, "No." And then he's like making out like I'm going to give him his money back. And I'm like, "Fuck you, man. This thing was in full working condition. It's been in your possession for 30 minutes and you've destroyed it." And I'm like, "So this is yours now, man. This paperweight now belongs to you." And that's what pissed me off the most, right? Not only have I had to sell the machine I loved, but the clown I sold it to broke it within an hour. And I'm like, "God damn." So yeah,
After you told him twice.
It was a heartbreaker. So I've said to my wife, at some point in my life, be it a year from now or 20 years from now, I'm gonna own a Street Fighter machine, and I'm also gonna own an Addams Family pinball machine. Those are the two things I want to own. I'm gonna own them. I don't care if they've got to sit in our bathroom. I'm having one. It's like, it really is that simple. I'm like, we'll find where it goes. If it's got to sit in the hallway and people have to climb over it, fine. But that's what I'm having, and that's not negotiable.
That's awesome.
It's funny.
Fuck yeah, one of those must-haves.
If I had the choice and if I had the ability, I would have one of two pinballs, and it would either be Xenon or 8-Ball Deluxe.
Nice.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Terminator.
No, 8-Ball Deluxe is a classic. There's not a whole lot, but you know what? It's an easy, fun playing one.
I'd say it was a great one, an easy, fun play, right? And you might have heard it or might not. There's a pinball machine called Meteor. There's just a shitload of fun. Honestly, it's
Meteor?
an absolute
No, I haven't played that one.
Oh man, it's so much fun, right? It's a very accessible pinball machine. It's a lot of fun. Pinbot as well. I think you don't play Pinbot, but Pinbot and Pride of Pinbot. Spectacular pinball machines. I'm taking the kids on vacation in summer, and where we're going down by the beach, there's an arcade there that's got a shitload of classic pinball machines, and I'm going to spend a disgusting amount of money in there. They've got Addams Family and Twilight Zone and Terminator 2 and just all the good old ones, man. And I'm just going to burn through so much money in there. It's like I can't wait.
Make sure
like a good day to me.
Sure you got your hat on like Chris, and that you have your GoPro, powered up, and bring that footage back, brother.
This is the thing. I'm going to take so many photos. I'm going to have to speak to the guy and say, "Look, just so you know, I'm just a nerd. I'm not trying to case the joint. But I'm going to take a shitload of pictures of these pinball machines." So it's I love a pinball machine. I think they're one of those things you don't see so much anymore. I know they still make them, but the kind of heyday of the pinball machine is sadly gone.
I see something.
And there were some amazing ones. I'd say that the early 90s, there were some incredible pinball machines that came out between 1995. Amazing machines came out. But Twilight Zone is another one. I'd love to own a Twilight Zone pinball machine. That's a
Twilight Zone?
It's a bitch of a machine. That one. It's really cool. It's got invisible flippers on it, which is crazy. So there's magnetic flippers under the table. You can't see them. You can press the button, it flips the ball. It's some really cool shit there.
Wow.
Chris, for Scott's sake, show him this.
What's up?
Let me see. Hang on.
Screen sharing?
Yeah.
Got you.
That's your baby. That's your baby Pac-Man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never seen one.
Yep. So the bottom part down here plays like a pinball game.
Right.
And when you get there's a couple different spots you can get on either side, but when you get the ball trapped up in there, it activates the video game, and you switch from the
Ooh.
flippers on the side to the joystick in the middle. And
I
then
bet
as soon
that thing
as
is
you
worth a
die out
fortune
here,
now.
yeah, as soon as
Oh,
you die
yeah.
out here, you're back to the flippers again on the sides.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a thing. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet.
Many hours of
I wouldn't want to
lost
break
sleep.
something on that.
So
Yeah, that's the problem with owning pinball machines as well, because I've looked into it, and you better know how to fix a pinball machine if you're going to own one,
Yeah.
because apparently there are a lot of maintenance to keep. And I guess that's why arcades fell out of love with them, because there are a lot of maintenance to maintain a pinball machine, because the LEDs are constantly going. You need to replace buffers and flippers and springs and all the time. They're apparently a nightmare to keep. They've got to be a labor of love. And they say that you're never going to make your money back on a pinball machine, because you'll dump that much money into it, keeping it. It's like a classic car. You're going to dump that much money into it, keeping it maintained.
Yep.
But I don't know. They're just a beautiful thing, I suppose, man. And
Yeah.
It's at some point I want an Addams Family pinball machine, man. I really do. that's kind of my thing.
That's awesome.
And here's one. Actually, try the pinball company, because the first thing they say is Addams Family pinball machines for sale.
Oh
I
shit!
think they're about 10 grand.
Oh,
they're a lot of money.
Fuck that.
I think they're between 5 and 10 grand in Addams Family.
That's like a car.
This one they've got here is about 16.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
That's a car.
As much as I want one, I know full well it's. I'm kind of hoping they offer a service where, for an extra $20, they'll give you a receipt that is for what you tell your wife it cost.
Right?
More commission off of that. For an extra $20, we'll give you a receipt for $1,500 and say it costs that much. That would be
I don't know.
That'd be perfect.
I don't know what happened, honey.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's not what I paid. It's like,
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, no, I definitely spend 16,000. That'd be crazy.
I have.
Yeah,
I have no
who do that?
That senator.
Shit. Oh boy.
We used to do that. That company where I showed you the crash helmet from. We used to do that. We would have people email us and say, "Is there any chance you can sell one a competition?" Be like, "Yeah." And we'd send an email that states, because they just bought 3 helmets and like a leather jacket, and they've just dropped like, $3 grand, $4 grand, and we go, "Yeah, sure." And we'd send an email going, "You competition winner," so they could show their wife that they won a contest. Just drop
That's awesome.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
This one they're talking about Arcade Legends 3 with over 100 games on it.
See, I'm tempted to get one of those as well. I've seen those cabinets where it's got the emulators in them, and you can get like hundreds of games.
Oh my god!
And I'm tempted to get one.
All right.
Yeah.
Here. Whew. They're saying it's between $300 and $3,400. Check this list out. This is nuts. Wow. This is crazy. Where is it here? So here's the cabinet. So it looks like you got Space Invaders and Ackroyd. God, who can forget that? And then here we go. Check the list out.
Wow. I want Silent Sniper.
Man, that was just like swimming in chocolate, man.
Here's one, Zookeeper. Remember that?
I don't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's an old one. You've got Tempest.
I remember Tempest.
Tempest, yeah.
Quicks.
That's retro.
Hard Hat. Oh God. Jungle Hunt. Kung Fu Master. I remember that one.
I remember Kung Fu Master.
Millipede, which was the takeoff of Centipede.
I like some of those obscure games as well. There's no real love for them, but they were just games I remember playing and enjoying. I remember there was a video store by me had a game in it called Sunset Riders. that was kind of like a version of a scrolling beat 'em up, but it was cowboys. And so it was like a scrolling shoot 'em up. It was fun, man. There'd be like stampede. You have to get on top of bulls and shit and run against them. It was good, man. It was really good.
Yeah. Mousetrap.
Mousetrap. That was a
board game.
That was
too.
a cabinet game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Here, let me see.
Oh shit! Speaking of Sunset Riders, I've just gone through the list of most expensive SNES games, and Sunset Riders is on there.
Shit!
It goes for $90 to $1,000. One of Konami's underground favorite run and gun games back in the 90s. Sunset Riders is kind of like a hybrid of Contra and Turtles in a time that's set in the Old West. There you go.
Oh wow! I did not know that.
So here's Mousetrap. It was basically like kind of a bastardized version of Pac-Man. Of course I
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
See, that's what I remember of kind of the 80s. There were a lot of these games where you're like, this is just Pac-Man.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that going on. Like I can remember a game coming out called Halloween and thinking, oh shit, what's this? And I remember the box art being like really impressive and thinking, man, this looks fun. And it was literally Space Invaders with jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh,
that's all it was. It was like, this is Space Invaders with jack-o'-lanterns. That's all this is. Spiders and jack-o'-lanterns instead of aliens. But it was like, no, it's Halloween. It's like, this is the exact same game. You've just changed the character, man. And there was a lot of that going on.
Food Fight. Oh God, you remember that one?
I do remember Food Fight.
I remember Food Fight.
So then you can also get the extra one here: King of Dragons, Street Fighter 2, Ghosts and Goblins.
Ghosts and Goblins.
Magic Sword. Mega Man.
I can remember as well shameless advertising in games. There was McDonald's had a game called Mick and Mac in McDonald's Land.
I remember that.
You remember that shit? It's just
jumping on the clouds and fucking you spun upside down. You had to...
Marketing these days, the way games work these days and advertised and marketing, they just give that shit away. That would be a free mobile phone game to advertise McDonald's. But back when we were kids, it's like, oh no, I'll happily pay $50 to buy what's essentially a McDonald's commercial I can play.
McDonald's commercial.
But I remember that. I remember advertising started appearing in games early doors. There was a game called Cool Spot.
That was the Mountain Dew one, right? No, it was Sprite. It was Sprite. It was Sprite.
Yeah. And it was like, what the fuck? Again, you get all these things like, this is a bit shady now. And it was like crazy product placement. You're like, you got to collect branded power-ups. So all of a sudden you're picking up like Hostess cakes and shit. You're like, hold on. It's like, I'm buying an advertisement here. And it's, some of that was bad, man.
Instead of getting paid for it, you're paying them.
Yeah, you're paying them. I know it's but Mick and Mac McDonald's Land sticks out.
That's too funny.
There were a bunch of those, man. But yeah, just not good at all. And it's now that it's quite common. Product placement in games is quite common, but thankfully it's done quite subtle. I mean, if you're playing like a sports game, it's all over the place because I mean it is replicating the arena. In an arena, you will have the Budweiser blimp and shit like that. So I mean, it replicates the reality. Whereas when you're playing some beat 'em up or you're playing some survival horror, and all of a sudden Coca-Cola's been shoehorned into it, you're like, that's a bit much.
Yeah, well,
So, what do you guys want to talk about next week?
Movies or 80s?
About movies, 80s. Pearl Harbor. Someone said Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor could be good. I know nothing about Pearl Harbor, but I'll learn.
Movies are good. The movies that made us.
And Pearl Harbor counts both as a movie and as a thing by itself.
Okay, I heard toys too. Someone said toys.
Toys would be good.
I know you'd be all about toys.
My kid's obsessed with Stranger Things at the moment, and he keeps. It's not good for my ego because he keeps referring to. I mean, I grew up in that era, and he keeps referring to it as the olden days, and I'm like, the fucking olden days.
The olden days.
And I saw a meme on Facebook that made me laugh my ass off, and that's so true. And it was what this generation think the 80s looked like, and it was all neon and colors and shit like that. They said, whereas people don't realize just how fucking brown the 80s were. And I'm like, yeah. the amount of brown and beige and orange shit there was in the 80s. I'm like, yeah, I remember that. I remember McDonald's being very brown places. And it was just this shit kind of wood veneer, and I'm like, yeah, it wasn't all neon lights and shit. It certainly wasn't in
No
England.
shit.
Oh,
That's
And I mean,
funny.
the Atari with the
daughter.
wood finish is a good example of that. I remember Atari was having a wood grain finish, but like even our consoles were kind of like, there you go, here's some brown
Yep.
veneer to go with it.
Like
you guys are not going to believe this.
what's up?
Check that out.
What you got there? Oh shit.
That's insane.
So that's a Minecraft arcade game.
The Minecraft arcade game, 4-person, cooperative,
Oh wow.
for $16,000.
Oh yeah. I'd be divorced for sure.
Well, you'd also need a fairly humongous house to fit that giant son of a bitch. And I mean, look at the
Right?
size of
No
it.
kidding.
What's it like? 15 feet tall?
Check this out. Check this out. We were talking about the dancing things earlier.
Yeah. Damn.
Bust a move.
Now, that's not dancing, but yeah. Damn! Look at the size of the screen on that thing.
Well, this is
Holy
the thing
shit.
as well with this. You're going to need to know how to fix this thing because, I mean, if I paid 17 grand for that and it just stopped working one day, who are you
Right?
calling to fix that?
I'd be pissed.
Jeez. And here's this is the one that blows me away.
Is that
Space
Pac-Man?
Invaders?
That's Pac-Man.
Oh,
That's just a
my
giant
God.
Pac-Man?
That
It's
is
a
a
giant
giant
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
I
But-
can get that
right.
on console.
My
But
God.
you could do that with a console and a projector. You could buy a
Yeah.
projector for $500.
Sure. But I mean,
Just,
look at
just
that.
have a. That's insane.
Yeah, that's
Damn!
silly. That's not even nostalgia because it's like new technology, right?
Yeah.
Like if
It's
you
like
have your
if
little
it's the
cabinet or
original
not cabinet,
Yeah.
yeah, that's different. Like okay, I got the retro cabinet.
Here's one of your motion ones. This is how we
I
kill
remember that.
ourselves and do bodily harm as
Yeah.
older guys.
That's how I
I'm
Oh, yeah.
sorry. I'm not stepping into this thing. What's
No,
gonna happen is my fat butt's gonna flip off over the side over
right?
here.
Yeah,
You know?
I
Yeah, I'm
can't
gonna
do
be
that.
flying
I mean,
somewhere.
as I'm getting older and watching my friends fall apart, I had a friend throw us back out wringing out a washcloth. So it's like
Okay, that's
Okay, I'm
funny.
not going there.
Just
That's
a little
you got,
bit too.
all right, touche.
Just a
You
bit
got
too
that
much.
one. What's on page 2?
Hi, honey. Greetings from work. I gotta say hi to the wife, guys.
Holy. Hello.
What's that?
She just
Halo
came
thing?
in.
Yeah, I was just saying the Halo Fire Team.
Oh shit! Ew, oh, look at
Holy
that!
crow.
Wow,
There's a
That's
like
cabinet
a-
for you.
For
that's like a
home
turret.
use- For home use,
Ho-
no.
Oh, for
But
home
if these
use.
Things are if these things are $17,000, if you owned an arcade, that shit would pay for itself in a month.
It
Oh
better.
yeah,
it
for
would
sure.
It would just be
Dude,
pure income after that.
It better. All right.
Babe,
now,
can I buy that for 17 grand, please? I'll behave. I'll do all my chores. Come on now, help a brother out.
Oh, me and my boy play that. We play the hell out of that. They've got that one.
Oh,
in bowling alley
yeah.
for us. And, yeah, we play that a lot.
Wow.
There's a zombie one like that too.
Yeah, there's a
I-
Walking
well-
Dead one. We play
all right,
that as well.
Here you go. Okay, we were talking. You were talking about the VR before, about hearing something behind you.
Yeah.
The first fool that comes up with a VR zombie game. Okay, think about that for a second. You know. Oh hell no!
Man, that shit stays with you too.
You can call me Mr. Brown Trousers on that one.
Yeah,
I will
nope.
tell you right here, right now. No. That there wouldn't be no 20 minutes on that. There'd be 20 seconds on that.
Yeah, no, I ain't
Yeah,
even.
no, get it.
I would break an arm. I would break a leg. Yeah. Oh hell
Just
no!
trying to escape the living room.
No
There
shit.
used to be a game we used to play the shit out of called Sonic Blast Man. Did you ever play that? It was it was the dumbest game. It was Sonic Blast Man 2 we used to play particularly, and it was a very early version of digital camera. So what you could do is at the beginning, you could put your face in this thing, hit a button, it would take a picture of your face, and it'd be on the screen. Then this big punch pad would come up. You'd put a boxing glove on, and you'd slam the thing as hard as you could, and the face would sort of distort the shit as you did it. And
Oh, that's funny.
we used to throw ourselves into this machine, right? It had padded along the sides of it. We would pull the string. It had like an elastic cord, so you couldn't steal the boxing glove. We would stretch that as far as we could and just charge this machine. We must honestly, those things can't. There can't be many of those available because the amount of people that must have broke those machines throwing themselves at it.
Yeah.
And they did one as well. I remember me and my buddies playing this in Ibiza a lot. They had it in a bar, and it was like Dance Dance Revolution, but it was Fist of the North Star, which is an anime. But instead of you jumping on the pads, it had 6 pads that came out, and you punched them. So you had to hit them in time as they sort of came out and lit up.
I've seen something like that.
And then all of a sudden, all 6 would come out at once, and you'd be trying to buy all these. It was awesome, man.
Shit.
And those are the ones that, I mean, so for the kind of gimmick cabinets, there were some that I enjoyed, man. And there were, I think now that is the only thing you do see in arcades now. You just get the gimmick machines.
Yeah.
And I remember a lot of them, man. There was one with, do you ever remember the one that it was like a raft? So 2 of you could play it, where you had to paddle.
Paddling.
Yeah. So you could play it on your own and sit in it and work both, or 2 of you could play and sort of work the paddle. And there was another one as well called, I can't think what it was, but it was a bike that you could fly, and it had a fan on the front of it. So when you sort of pedaled the bike, the bike would go up in the air. But the fan on the front, the harder you pedaled, the more the fan blew.
More air,
You kind of got the Yep. But again, it's as you said, fluffy friendly. That's a workout, man.
Well, and I think it was something. I think it was something to do with ET, with that one with the bike.
Mm-hmm.
At least here in the States.
Myth confirmed. There was a myth that they buried all the things in the desert, and they actually found all the cartridges in the desert.
Yeah, wasn't
ET
it
cartridges?
ET cartridges, yeah. I owned ET on the Atari. I had the game, man. And
Shit.
It was as terrible as everyone remembers. It just involved keep falling into holes.
Yeah,
that was all I remember about that game.
Until you found the right hole, and then you didn't know what to do.
You keep falling in a hole and very slowly try and get out the hole, then fall back in a hole, and it wasn't great. It had a really good loading screen though. The loading screen was awesome. Beyond that, it wasn't a great game. But
that's okay, YG. Yeah, no kidding.
That was bad. But yeah, I think ET bankrupted Atari. I think it pretty much ended Atari's sort of run. They put that much money into it, and it just absolutely tanked.
Yeah, it was not great.
I remember that.
I mean, I'm not surprised. ET to me seems like a weird franchise to make a video game of anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it was a huge film, but if they'd have like dumped all the money into Return of the Jedi, I'd be like, yeah, I can see that. But to dump it all into ET, I'm like, who's your market for that?
I see a meme.
Gamers didn't strike me as huge ET fans, you know.
It would have been his Spielberg's entire family.
Yeah, that'd have been about it, and it's
pretty much.
Yeah, it was a strange thing.
Oh wow. Okay.
I didn't do it.
I think we can use this to wrap the video game part.
All right. What are we using?
I just came across this. You got it?
Nope, it's not up yet.
Oh, hang on.
I'm watching. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. What the peep show?
What the hell?
You don't see every day.
What the fuck is that?
What the hell?
Honey, can I put that in our living room?
Right.
What every woman should. What? Oh my God, are you serious? Yeah. That's going in. That's going in. That's going in the living room.
Now,
I got. She won't mind.
Holy crow!
I've seen some of these. There's a museum by me that's got a bunch of those in it, where you sort of put
Was
your
that a
eyes in and
thing?
you turn the handle. Yeah. So what it is it's a dirty movie. So what it would be is maybe 500 photographs.
Oh, okay.
Like a flip book. So you'd put your 5 cents in there. You turn the handle, and it plays the flip book, and you'd see kind of a dirty movie. And
Oh
that's what
my
that is.
god!
Unbelievable.
Why no, honey? Come on. Where's your sense of adventure? Come on now.
I've never seen one that looks like that. I mean, typically we
No,
have ones
that's-
over here. We have ones over here that were called "What the Butler" for, and it would be
What
like
the
you were looking
butler
through a
for
key.
it.
Yeah, so it was like you were looking through the keyhole of a door, and you turn this handle, be this old black and white footage of, and it wasn't anything extreme. It would be from like the turn of the century, and it would be some lady taking her underwear off, but would still be clothed. And that's kind of what you got inside these things, and that's what you got. So yeah, those were peep shows.
Wow.
Wow. That's awesome. You want to reviews of Walker? No, I don't. I'm gonna shut up. We could
It's
just
a
make
really-
30 movies.
It's a surprisingly clever mechanism inside those things. We were actually going to make one on the channel, not one of those. But it's the way it works is you put the coin in, and it turns the light on. That's all it does. Because without the light, you can't see shit. So the coin just powers the light for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So when you're turning the handle, it shines the light down, and the magnifying glass shows the movie.
Holy
And that's
crap.
how it works. So we have one. We've got one to build, which is a fish swimming. It's not naked women, but I don't know. I might swap them out. But it's you turn the handle. That's how it works. I've got. Let me see if I can. So I've got. I've got.
That was a
I
good
have
one.
a very
I don't
printed
even
version.
know. I don't even know what to say to
Oh
that.
shit! Look at that.
So we have this one here. Now this one, when you turn it, this is powered by a dynamo. So if you turn this one here, the crank will turn the bulb, and it projects an image of Charlie Chaplin dancing on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Shit!
Okay.
No way.
So that's a Vitascope.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing. So that's how those peep shows worked. They were yeah, but I suppose a very early video game.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's
That is cool.
That's a something.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Holy crow! Unbelievable.
So we haven't figured out next week yet, but we will. Shoot ideas. We'll do movies or something. I might
Movies
do
can be
like
good.
a.
We tend to drift toward movies, so movies could be a good one, I suppose.
We always end up at movies. I think we did last week too. I mean, we could go back to some kind of war or something too.
It featured a fair amount of info, from
Thank
the
you,
movie.
Misty.
So.
All right on. I think we should wrap. I gotta make dinner, and it's probably getting late for Scott.
It is. It's 20 to 11 here in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got some running around we got to do yet. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, gentlemen. Sorry I was
been
late.
fun, fellas.
Yeah.
I'll get you the topic as soon as I have it, or if you guys have something you really want to talk about, hit the inbox or whatever. I might do a vote on the community tab too. I don't know. We'll see.
One of these times we ought to do the Manhattan Project.
That would be good. I don't know a lot about that, but I know it would be very interesting.
I can run you through all kinds of fun with that.
I'd like to hear about it. That'd be good.
So, yeah,
Oh,
I've actually been to some of the places that and walked on some of the same streets and been in some of the same buildings that were.
Is that something we can talk about? Is that? I know. 50 years ago you couldn't talk about it, but I guess it doesn't matter now.
The
bomb's out.
You got all kinds of books out. You got all kinds of books out on it.
It might be worth checking. It's going to end up in YouTube jail. But
fuck.
Yeah.
Next week's the Manhattan Project. Yeah, let's go.
Cool.
I'm down.
We'll
that sounds good.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'll
Thank you,
see
sir.
you next week.
All right, guys.
Always a pleasure.
Yep. Talk to you later.
Oh God.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.